still run the world. I mean, they run our whole infrastructure. If men disappeared tomorrow, like the lights would go out, the plumbing would stop. Where if women disappeared, they would be fine. No society that has stood the test of time was run by women. Women had just as much opportunity as men.
At a point, I believe they might have not.
And men still run the world. I mean, they run our whole infrastructure. If men disappeared tomorrow, like the lights would go out, the plumbing would stop. Where if women disappeared, they would be fine. No society that has stood the test of time was run by women.
Okay. Listen, hey guys, and welcome back to Little Blackbird 91. We are talking to you guys today. The topic: do women need men in 2023? That's the question we're asking. And listen, it's an open panel. I have tagged the particular question there. In fact, I'm going to do a poll before we start. I'm going to ask a question: do women need men in 2023? Yes or no? It's a simple question. I've put it there in a poll. We've got 47 people and climbing. I need to hear your opinions, okay? Do women in 2023 need men? Do you need men? So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. Like it, share, subscribe. Click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. We want to hear your opinions tonight. And don't forget to click on that bell button for notifications of the uploads, okay? All right? So we're going to get some conversations, okay? You got the minerals, baby. I need some water. All right, cool. So my question I'm asking for tonight is, do women need men? Let me get your initial responses. Let me get your initial thoughts. Do women need men? That's my first question I'm asking to you guys tonight. And I want to get your honest opinions. Let me get some opinions as well. And don't be afraid to use the link. Get on here and you know, get involved. Like, guys, you know, get involved with the conversation. Do women need men? Let me get some opinions on that from you guys. All right. And let me see that. Make sure as well you guys are joining us by hitting us on the particular poll as well. All right, cool. Let's see what you guys saying. Elsid says there are good men out there. They just need to step ahead of the bad ones, and we need to recognize them. Love that point. Tyronda Coleman says we don't need them, but we want them. Okay, cool. True Love Forever says, can you define need? Can you define need? Okay. I like that point. I might have to define it for you, and put it on there. Okay. I mean, need is a very strong word, isn't it? So I want to read the definition of need. Definition is require because it is essential or very important rather than just desirable. So it's expressing necessity or obligation. I mean, that's a bit, but require because it's essential or very important rather than just desirable. That's the definition of need. I mean, you make of it what you will. Okay. Amanda MTC says, yes, in 2023, women need men and vice versa. God designed a structure for us to follow. Okay. I'm hearing you. I'm liking where it's going. Okay. Nika Moff said, yes, always we need and want men. Okay, I like it. Fine Princess, yes, we need men. Elsa said we sure do need them to procreate. DD said yes, period. I like DD's energy. She's straight to it. She said she ain't gonna play. Moon Dust Angel says I think we do, but men need to be better. How they are I guess you're gonna say I don't like how they're moving this year. Yes, Women Need a Man by Chi Samuel. Okay. Natasha Walker said, why would the word need be so troubling? Yes, we need each other. I think need is showing vulnerability. Okay, I like it. AW says, so need no, you need air to breathe. Want, yes. Okay. This is, and Elsa, very important in that case, yes. All right, so now we dropped that little part there. I need you guys, sorry, you ladies, to be brave. Okay, I need you brave. Okay, and so far on the poll, we have 33 people who have voted. Okay, 33 people have voted, and it says 76% of you people said, "Do women need men?" Yes, which I think is powerful, because I think oftentimes when we talk about this particular topic, we often get not you guys, but necessarily we hear other streams of conversation that say women are literally fighting against that. You know what I mean? So, it's good to see that the numbers reflect the fact that no, women do need men, and just the same way I believe we spoke on the men's panel, we need y'all. Okay, we ain't gonna live without you. Can't live without you. I can't live without you anymore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can't live without you. Can't live. All right. So yes. But let me open up the floor then. Let me do this. Since I haven't got nobody's come up just yet, let me open it up and say, so we've got 36, but can I do a start a Q&A? Okay. Okay. I don't know how this Q&A thing will actually work, but ask your questions to me. All right. How does that work? How does that work? I don't know. Does it work? Does that work? I don't know how that works. Okay. All right. So I started a Q&A for you guys. And I don't know why. I don't know. I just wanted to see if it'll work on YouTube. I've never actually done it before, so who knows if it works or not. I want to get some questions from you guys. So obviously, you guys, if you were here on the other day, you would have heard the men's panel and some of the things the men were saying. I would love to hear some of your feedback, some of the questions you might want to ask. I think it's be a great time to kind of get that conversation flowing as well. I'm sure by the time we do, we'll get some people who would have come through and decided to actually take the brunt and jump on board today. You get me? So I want to get you guys' thoughts. Give us some questions. Someone said we need God first and then the men. Okay, that's fair. All right, cool. I hear you. Men need to be clear on what it is they want and not act until they are sure of it. Okay. So let me ask a question then. When we say women need men, what is the first thing that comes to mind? When we ask that question, women need men, what is the first thing that comes to mind? When we say women need men, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Let me see if I can get some questions or some important points coming from this point. Yeah, when we say women need men, what's the first thing that comes to mind? All right, so Femiatine, I hope I pronounced it right because I'll be killing people's name. She said reliance. Okay. Taronda said family. Okay. Jam said I'm having trouble with the need because in the absence of a man, life continues. Okay. I hear you. Chi Simon said security. Moon said stability. Latoya said to do jobs that women are underrepresented in. Okay. We need what only they can provide. Michelle Williams said yin and yang. Okay. Tish said right now this damn apple juice jar needs to be opened. And then JW says was created for MSN. Okay. For man, I'm guessing. Sorry, I put MSN. Protection, security, and strength. Okay. So Jam, you said a very interesting point. Like, I would love to hear your point of view. In fact, Jam, use the link and comment and say your piece as to why it's troubling for you. I want to hear some expulsions. You can leave your camera off. I know some of you just don't want to do the camera stuff, but I want you to click on that link. Let's start the conversation flowing. In fact, Jam, I'm going to get some water. When I come back, Jam, I want to see you have clicked on the link and you're in the background because we're going to start some conversation. All right. You can leave your camera off if you're uncomfortable. I know some of y'all want to be behind that. So, but I'm opening up the floor. Okay. I want to hear some different points of views. I'm going to get some water. I'm literally be back in 2 seconds. We're going to start this conversation. Don't watch my bum as I go past. All right. All righty. Okay. Whew. Okay, cool. All righty. Let's see what we got here. All right, so we've got some other points here as well. Druzy G said, before I got married, I would have said that means I can't live without him. Since I'm married, I recognize that I would not thrive at this level without having my husband. Oh, Druzy, click on the link. Why are you girls, women and ladies, why are you guys so scared? Click on the link. Y'all had a lot to say in the men's chat. When the men were talking, a lot of you had something to say. And yet when the link is here, none of you want to click the link and come ahead what you're saying. What? When the men were talking, there was so much shaking the tables that was being done in the conversation. But now I've put the link there for you. None of you want to. Somebody needs to click the link and start the conversation. Come on, don't be afraid, guys. Ladies, I should even say. Don't be afraid. Take the first step, ladies. Because we're going to have to open the conversation. You know what I mean? Yeah? We have to open the conversation. Don't be afraid. Y'all had us on the ropes on Sunday. Okay? Don't worry where the men are at, Chi Samuel. They'll come. Don't worry where the men are at. Okay? All right? All right. Jam said, I'm trying. Click on that link, G. Click on that link. We want it. Trey, they want to hear your stories again, sir. But I know you're on the road. I'm on the road again. All right. Beetlejuice says, we need men for harmony. We were made to work with each other. Okay. Okay, I like it. Empress K, we don't like to be starting trouble. We need you to start the trouble. We need you to start the trouble. You know, we just want to hear I just want to hear some opinions and some thoughts. I know that once we start, it's going to start going. So I just want to hear some of those thoughts. You know, so fantastic. Okay, we have our first person to hit the yeah. Okay, listen, let's get that conversation going. See, when the first person comes, the rest of them will come because someone has decided to take a step of faith. Hallelujah. May you be blessed. Amani, give me your cash app. I'll send you $10. Oh, Jam is also in the building as well. Look at that. See, you would have Jam, unfortunately, you missed it, you know. See, if you had been the first, I would have given you my $10 for the cash app. You know what I'm saying? You can get 5 though. Oh, Michelle Williams. Oh, look at that. You asked for one bus and all the buses just come along. It's crazy. Huh? You asked for one bus and all the buses come along. Not that ladies are buses, guys. We're just saying that just to tell me. I want to clip this and send me into oblivion, you know, women's fear. All right, cool. Let's get the ladies on. Let's get the conversation flowing. All right. And let's have a good time tonight. You know what I mean? I'm sure the guys will join when they start hearing the ladies say things they may not agree with. You know what I'm saying? All right, cool. Fantabulous, boo. Hello, Amani. Is it Amani?
Yes. Happy Black New Year.
Happy Black New Year. What's that?
It's Black History Month where I'm at.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, Black New Year. I said, when is this one? Blessings to you too. Jam, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate you as well. Michelle, how you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm alive and I'm well. Great. Listen, ladies, I appreciate you guys for joining us. Make sure you put your cash apps in the private chat for me as well. I'll send a little something for all of you, okay? All right. But since Amani was first, you're going to get the majority of my cash app. All right. So, Amani, I want to get you first in because you pressed the link first, right? So, I want to ask a question. When you're hearing this question being posed, do women need men in 2023? What's on your mind? What are you hearing? What does your mind take you to? How do you answer this particular question for yourself?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The first thing I think about is being a young child and what young children go through today. I been feeling very strongly lately that so much of the conversation about like men, women, hetero politics has been It's just like people don't center young people, but here we are as adults who all grew up going through being young people and being dumped on by the people who are kind of in charge of our lives. And then we enter this, try to make a family with somebody with this mentality of like, you need to fix something or add something that I don't like take care of in my own self. And like, I see a lot of that. And that's what comes to my mind. I'm a part of a family unit where the person that I'm with, who is a Black man, has children with 2 other Black women. And it's definitely like not great co-parenting all around. But I consider myself a co-parent because I chose to be with somebody who has children. And I appreciate deeply the father that he is. I was very close to my father, and I never knew my parents as like romantic partners. I only knew them as co-parents who seemed like they were friends. And when I see my stepchild like have turmoil because his parents aren't friends, like it hurts me. And obviously I've considered a lot, like, am I going to add children to our house or am I not? And I don't believe that I will. But my life would be, I would be fine and I would take care of myself and I would handle business if I was alone. I've lived alone. I've adulted alone. It is a lot to consider to live with a grown man and a little boy, and I'm the only female. I have to fight a lot for like consideration on a certain level, and teamwork to a certain degree, but my partner is fully willing to do that with me. And my life is so much better because of that. I'm willing to take the responsibility it takes and deal with the hard stuff that I have to deal with to have this level of like support and trust and being able to depend on somebody who chose to live a life with me. Obviously, I had my parents and they supported me and raised me and all that, but that wasn't a choice for me. Our relationship today is not a really, I mean, you could say it's a choice, but you know, family, you're connected. There's nothing you can do about that, you know? But we choose to be family. And I wish more people would choose to be family before they add children to the mix or when there are already children in the mix. And I feel like because sex is such a big part of relationships and everybody just wants to have it, usually, mostly, that and like pregnancy is romanticized or whatever, but raising children and raising humans and like building family is not. That's just the first thing that comes to my mind. I need to be able to experience trust to this extent because I want to be a liberated person. I don't want to just live a life where I'm suffering. And I think I could probably have that with, you know, I'm not just straight hetero, but my whole life is straight hetero. And so the person that I'm with, yes, I'm very happy to have him. And I wouldn't want it any other way. And I tell them all the time, I'm going first or we going together when we grandparents, because I don't want to do this no other way at this point because I've seen what I've seen and experienced what it is. And I'm appreciative of that. I do not let that pass me by.
I appreciate that. That's a good expulsion there. And I appreciate the fact you shared a little bit of your experience as well, because that kind of gives us a bit more insight on a personal level as well. So, so in conclusion, I think what I did hear is, you know, you were talking about the kind of relationship that you have as current dynamic. And if I heard correctly, the conclusion is coming to you would need a man. Or would that be the final conclusion? Because I know you gave us a lovely story and you gave us a little bit more understanding. Would the conclusion be that you need a man?
I need mine. I need mine. Need,
I ain't gonna say nothing
deserve,
else.
want, etc. All of the above.
I ain't gonna say nothing else. All right, we'll come back to you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for that expulsion. I appreciate it. Jam, you're gonna have all the boys in trouble, okay? But Jam, we need to hear this question. Do women need men in 2023? When you hear that question, what's your thoughts?
So like I said in chat, I hesitate to say that we need men because whether it be lack of supply or whatever you want to call it, in the absence of men, women, particularly Black women, have had to continue their lives, right? And I won't say move on. I think by and large, a majority of women are still holding out for, praying for, believing for that good man, good Black man, good whatever man. But in the absence of that, there are some women like me who believe that if that doesn't present itself, that my life will continue. And so you and I have had conversation and comments, Coach. I don't know if that's where you recognize. Yeah, if you recognize my name. Right. So like, I'm of the mindset that, particularly for me, given that I am 38. So I'm not the youngest woman, right? I have been married. That marriage did not work out. I ended up leaving the marriage. It was not a good marriage. And from then I've had to work on myself. But at that point, when my marriage was over, I didn't have a desire to date, but I still wanted to be a parent. And so for me, in the absence of a good man, a viable partner, my mom raised me, my parents, well, first of all, my parents divorced when I was 5. So my mom raised me for most of my life until around the time when I was 16. And my mom got married to my now stepdad, and they've been married for like 25 years, right? So she raised 3 children for the most part by her own. I know there's a lot of bad mouthing of single moms. My mom did an excellent job. I don't think we do a good enough job praising. And I know it may not be all single mothers. I will speak for my mom. My mom did a damn good job. She poured so much into me and my brothers. And if anything, honestly, she, yes, I tried with marriage and it didn't work. And so at the end of that marriage, I knew that there was a model available to me, given that, like my parents said, you stay in school, you get your education, so you have options. And so I exercised those options when that marriage was not serving me well. And since I'm at 38, I'm of the mindset my fertility is not, it doesn't continue forever. It's finite. So I'm going to have a child on my own. So I'm doing it without a man. So that's hard for me to say that I'm a donor. A donor is not a man's presence in your life. It's not the same. I know you and I have gone back and forth about this. When someone elects to be a donor, they are giving so that someone can use that donation, whatever you want to call it, for future use, good use, etc. It's not the same as a divided home. And I can get into that, but I don't want to derail the conversation. But yeah, so it's hard. I'm of the mindset that while I feel like I'm healed, right? I'm open to meeting someone after, or let's say once I have my child, since I'm so far deep into the process, I'm open to that, but I'm not going to let the absence of that stop me. So that's where I am.
I appreciate it, Jam. I know we've come back and forth anyway, so but no, I appreciate you sharing that. We'll come back around to some of the points you make that we gon' I think it's also part of the conversation,
Sure.
especially about obviously children as well. I think that's part of the conversation as well in terms of do we need men. So That's fair, and I appreciate you sharing that. So I want to honor that as well. So thank you for sharing that, Jam. I appreciate you sharing that vulnerability of yours as well. Michelle, talk to me. Oh, I think you got to unmute yourself, Michelle.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. I can hear you now.
Wonderful.
Talk to me, baby.
Okay, so when it comes to the question of does a woman need a man? I mean, or do women need men? Obviously, we need men. I mean, there's no way that we can procreate without them. So a man is necessary for that basic need. As far as for companionship, sure, we need men for that. But like Jam indicated, I don't think that but for having children, life will not go on if there's no man in my general vicinity. So I think it's a very basic answer. Yes, men are needed. Most women would like a man unless, they are not into men, but most women would like to have a man for companionship. So, yeah, I think we do need them. I mean, and plus, I think I personally believe now I'm a little bit older than the other ladies. I'm 53, so and I grew up in an era where um, most of my friends had their father in their life. I grew up with my father in my life. Even though my parents were divorced, my father was still very much involved in my upbringing. I had a stepfather. I also had a stepmother. And I think one of the ladies mentioned, um, all of my step parents, along with my parents, got along. It was more of a friendship. So it really impacted me in a way that I think um, just fostering good relationships in general is important to me. So even if I am not involved with a man romantically, I personally still have very good interactions with most of the men that I have been involved with. So again, like I said, just even from that standpoint, yes, I do need the man in my life. There's still things that I want to get a man's insight on, their opinion on, even if I'm not romantically involved with them. I do genuinely value um, the relationships that I have with men as well as women. So I'm just a person. I believe humans need humans. And so we all need each other. So that's really where it is for me.
I appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that as well, and your experiences as well, in regards to that. We go back to Amani, and let's start opening up the conversation a bit more as well. So, Amani, you spoke a little bit as well about being in a quote unquote what one might call now blended family, and you quite emphatically told us, yes, you need your man. And so I guess obviously after hearing the ladies' kind of experiences, what does that take your mind to? Because you would have heard some stuff. You might agree, might disagree, might whatever. But what does that take your mind to? And yeah, what did you hear to kind of add more to the conversation?
I'm gonna take it back to the schoolyard. I work with a lot of kids, and when I was a kid, I had just so much go on. I lost my dad when I was a teenager, and I just so much of what it was like for me is why I felt like, because this is what I needed, and I had a mixed bag of how adults around me in general, teachers, family, whoever, let me down or showed up, I wanted to do that and be that. And so most of the work I've done has been with youth in one capacity or another, art or in school settings or whatever. And there was a time where I was a co-teacher with this man, Now, if I was to tell the story about my relationship to that man in terms of the roller coaster of how we related to each other, it did not end well. And there was so many hurtful things that happened. That person as a man was like very much just trying to get with any woman that they could get with. And they did a lot of things that just weren't good, in my opinion, for the community as a whole, as a teacher in our teaching vicinity. But I also had so many chances to see the impact of what it was like for us to be together to teach the children we were with, which was like all Black children almost, in a very poor place that people think you should move and whatever, like the kids live here, but okay, don't move here. Somebody's kids are still living here. So if you scared, what you think they feel? And it was some of the most powerful experiences and reflections that I had to see what our teamwork did for the kids. And even when stuff went bad between that person and I, and how that showed up in the classroom. And just a general, it was just really powerful. Would I ever have a relationship as an adult person with that person outside of that context? No, because it was problematic. However, when you can come together for something specific, a common goal, like we talk about having children, you do need male and female parts to create a human. And then humans go through this experience and they see all these different people, and predominantly schools are having women take care of children. But when men are in there taking care of children too, it's just so much different. And it's infinitely more supportive because it's a more holistic, well-rounded thing where you can get the support you need in the different experiences that you're going to have. Now, as an adult woman, when I was a kid, I'm sure I would have loved to have that access to positive female role models and positive male role models. But I grew up and got to a point where I found out what I could do in the absence of them. That's not ideal, but yes, it's possible. Yes, I still was holding it down, being an adult on my own. Like I did do a lot of stuff on my own. It's just the quality of life and experience that I feel like it's not something to give up hope on. I feel like it's really easy to become like, I can't really point to examples of that, or it's not in my vicinity right now, and it's easier for me to focus on what I can control, and so I'm gonna do what I know I can be successful at. I don't think there's anything. I think that that's a beautiful thing about human beings, and especially Black women. We're gonna do what we're gonna do, and people are gonna benefit. And if we have kids, the kids is gonna benefit. I'm just saying, to be where I've been and to be where I'm at now, I can see like, wow, there's a lot. There's a reason, I think, why it takes at least two, but a kid can take however many people gonna give the kid attention, and I think it's worth it to be relentless about building positive relationships with who you can build positive relationships with, and not falling into just stereotyping people based on demographics, which is like the way that we are today. Even when we think we're being conscious, it's like demographics equals this.
I appreciate it, Money. Thank you for sharing that as well. Some good points were being made there as well. So I'm going to open up again, Jam, as you've been hearing a conversation and it's been moving from left to right with different thoughts and different opinions. What are you hearing? What are you feeling? And let us know your particular thoughts. Again, you can expand on what you spoke about first, but I also love to hear if you've got any contribution in terms of what you've heard from the other two ladies as well.
I appreciate both their perspectives. I believe Amani spoke to a child needing both parents, and I'm not discounting you know, I think that even choosing this path, I have to make, I have brothers, I have family, male, I won't say father figures, but I guess as close as one could be, like within my community, if you will, to help to foster that relationship. I know that's not the same as a father, but it's, you know, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of how it can be different, but you know, when we go
it's your experience.
When we go through the process, when we go through the process to once you agree that you want to use donor sperm, before a fertility clinic will let you use it, most fertility clinics, and I think it depends on your state, you have to go through like this psychiatric evaluation where you actually, you know, talk with a psychiatrist or psychologist about how you will introduce this, how this child came to be to them, right? And typically the most hurt and frustration comes from when a child is lied to, when it's not introduced to them early. Because even though I know I'm a Christian, like in 2023, there are different family structures, right? Like, and I understand, like, from a Christian perspective, I get it. But applying that to 2023 terms, you know, we have to, or at least I believe we should be open to various familial structures. I think there was a mention about, I think, I can't remember, someone kind of describing, I guess, like how this is kind of to pivot a little bit to how their life is, you know, so much better, of course, with their partner. And I totally, that's the thing, like, and that's why I feel like I feel like I'm healed. And I have a therapist as well, but, you know, I think depending on your life experiences, right? Like for me, at the end of my marriage, you really have to, you go through the stages of, one, you forever change like the way that you think about who you were. So like if I thought of myself as a wife, right? You think of your wife, think of yourself as a wife for the rest of your life. Okay, now I got to undo all that, right? And now and then in addition to that, now I have to well, I always had control over my life, right? I always had control over my career, but now I have to pour into those things that much more because I don't have someone else to depend on. So I really had to work really, really hard on myself to, one, develop and strengthen my self-love, right? Because I had to ultimately, honestly, when I left my marriage, I had to make a choice, because there was Jamila that loved love, right? There was Jamila that was, you know, married till death do you part. But when the marriage itself, or what's going on in the marriage, is causing you to dishonor yourself, you have to make a choice, right? You have to make a choice. And if you've ever been there, it's one in which you hopefully never have to experience that again. But once you've made that choice once and you've chosen yourself, it becomes easier to choose yourself every situation there forward. And that's what I mean by not necessarily feeling like I need a man. I pray to God the next relationship, and I can honestly say, if I get in a relationship, I don't necessarily build my life around a relationship, but if I do get in one, it's going to be one in which it's a partner that is everything that you all speak of a partner should be. But if it's not, because I've been in situations where I've learned how to leave, or I've learned how to choose myself. I won't say leave, choose myself. I'm going to be able to do that easier moving forward. And the last thing I'll say is this, like, I don't know, man, like if you heard, what's her name? Ebony K. Williams. Now I'm not like as rich as she is, or she purports to be, right? But like, you know, she talked about how when she chose to, or as she's choosing to kind of take this path on her own, she, you get to a point where you know what decisions you want to make. And sometimes, you know, if you, again, and this is in the absence of a loving relationship, when it's kind of like sometimes a co-parenting situation, or I know someone, oh, I could have a baby with this person, like that kind of setup, which people do. You know, having those conversations when you already know your conclusion, you already know your decision, and you just want to move forward, it's easier to do that when you're doing it alone. And I know people probably gonna come at me for that, but like, you know, that's just, I mean, that's the way, I don't know if it's Black women, I don't know if it's just me, but that's the way I've learned to be over time. It's just know my decisions, know what I need to do, and I move forward and try to get it done. But still being soft and still being feminine at the same time, right? Like I'm not like, you know, but you can still hold both things. So that's it.
It's not just you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yes,
I mean, just to piggyback on what Jam said, I want to talk about a couple of things that she mentioned with regard to, you know, having a single parent or not having the typical two-parent structure. It's still, you know, even though I had a father in the house, I mean, obviously men are, well, I shouldn't say obviously, most men are not as involved in the child rearing as women. So I was much closer to my mom, did way more things with my mom. In fact, I didn't really even have a real conversation with my dad. When I say conversation, I mean like sit down and actually talk mano a mano about what's going on, how you do this. You know, it was really, my interactions with my dad was more or less just from a father, you know, telling you what to do. That pretty much was it. But I didn't really have a good conversation with my dad until I was almost grown. I was 18 or 19 years old when we actually sat down and like talked about life, you know. So even though my dad was in the house, even though I had a stepdad in the house, it still was like my mom was mostly responsible for rearing me, you know, kind of talking to me on a day-to-day basis. So, I mean, I don't want to say that you have to have a dad in the house to have, you know, to turn out well, because like you said, you have, you know, I have a girlfriend, her dad passed away when she was 3 years old, you know, so of course all the other men in the family had to step up and become a, you know, father figure to her. So it's all kind of ways in which this can happen. As far as how needing a, like, so when I say you need a man, I'm talking about basically like having someone to talk to or whatever. But like, do I need a man in order to survive and, you know, get me through the day, to help me with my job or anything like that? No, I'm very self-sufficient. I was married as well, very, very young in life. And that relationship was a good relationship. Me and him actually remained married for 25 years. But we were only together for 5 years. And when people hear that, they're like, wait a minute, you didn't get divorced until you were with him for 25 years. But yeah, neither one of us decided to get divorced until we actually were serious about someone else and wanted to marry someone else. So when he wanted to marry someone else is when we got divorced. That's neither here nor there. But we remained, you know, friends the entire time. So I just think that, like I said before, maintaining good relationships, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's, you know, with the, obviously some people need a man, not need a man, would like a man for, you know, to have a family and all of that, and that's fine. But I was really coming from the standpoint of just a basic need of interacting with people on, you know, outside of an actual relationship type of situation. So.
Appreciate it, Michelle. No, I'm listening. I'm taking in what you ladies are saying as well. Because I think it's an interesting topic, because we've not defined necessarily what does need a man for, in a sense, right? We've kind of left it open so that you can kind of define it for yourself, so we can get experiential kind of viewpoints. And it's quite interesting to hear where each individual person is kind of taking their particular viewpoint too. So I'm just kind of learning and listening as well. I think what themes I'm hearing, though, which is really interesting, is the role of father figures in people's lives. And this is not just for women, this is also for men as well. Father figures change lives. If they're good, they change lives. They're bad, they change lives. Like, their input seems to have weaved itself in everyone's story who's spoken so far, in some shape or in some form. Whether they've said something, whether they've been there, whether they've not been there has been some shaping that has happened through that role of a father figure. So I guess I want to ask everybody, and I know Aman, you kind of said a little bit, because I know your father passed a little bit past as well, you said, but I would like to ask this kind of question. What has been a good experience that you've had with the opposite sex outside of a romantic partner? So you can choose whoever, whether it's dad, brother, whatever. What positive experience have you had with the opposite sex? Because I want to be able to understand, because I have my own opinions, but I'm a man. Do you know what I mean? I want to listen and hear. Okay, Michelle, go for it.
Are we talking father figures, or are we just talking in general?
It could be father figures, brothers, cousins, colleague, whatever, so long as it's not necessarily your actual man, because I think that's usually the usual one we go for. But I just want to get anyone else apart from your man.
Okay, so I'm going to give two examples. One from a father figure type of standpoint, and then one from a one of the people that I mentor at my job. So outside of my father, I had many men in my life who were father type figures, uncles. In fact, the person who I thought I wanted my husband to be most like was not my dad. and interestingly enough, it was my uncle to my grandmother's sister. So it was my grandmother's sister's husband. And so he was an older man, of course, settled in life. So he had the patience to deal with a toddler, and, he basically helped to take care of me when my mother was working, my dad was working, he was, retired. So he would help to take care of me. And he was the one who I could actually sit down with and have conversations about. He and I talked about politics. I mean, even as a young girl, he taught me about, things that men like to do. I learned about baseball with him. So that was like one of the very, very first relationships that I had with a man that to me really stuck with me. And he really was the model of who I was looking for in terms of a husband, the qualities that I was looking for in terms of a husband. And then recently, I mentor many people, but the profession that I'm in is not a lot of Black people, and definitely not a lot of Black men. Okay, so recently, my job with my position, they hired a young Black man, and so I kind of took him underneath my wing, and kind of showed him the ropes, and kind of got a lot of insight in terms of like where he came from. I'm from Chicago. He was from Detroit. He moved to Chicago to work. And so, I kind of, now he actually left the company, but he and I still maintain a friendship. He calls me on a regular basis to talk to me about his girlfriends and, just to get advice about, things that's going on in his love life. So, to me, that just kind of covers the gamut from A to Z, a father figure, and then someone that I'm actually interacting with, a male who I'm interacting with, where I am taking more of a leadership role with him, kind of giving him advice. So Those are my examples.
I appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. Go on, Amani, yeah?
I love that you asked this question. That is so brilliant and thoughtful. And I'm going to clarify something that I realized. I think what Michelle said, people need people. We need whoever the men and women and thems and theys in our lives provide the things that those theys and thems and hims and hers provide. And Jam, I love your jams. And I wish you like all the love and support from the men who are in your life and the women and whoever else, because raising kids it deserves a wealth of support, not just for the kids, but the people who primarily raise them. So, good experience. One of my brothers, he ain't even my favorite brother or nothing like that. But this experience, I was home alone. I was a teenager. There was a lot of people doing a lot of break-ins and stuff in where I lived at that time. But I think most of the guys doing that knew where I lived. So I felt like they know I live here. They ain't finna break in, but still, like, it's just a scary thing. And somebody was trying to get into my house. I heard the wiggling. I heard the garage. I heard the garage door. I heard all of it. I run into my mom's room with some scissors, and I get on AIM at the time was real, because the house phone was downstairs. I didn't have a cell phone. This is not even that long ago, but you see how far we've come. And so I instant messaged my brother, and I said, somebody's trying to get in the house. And not long after that, he comes in and he yells, Amani, come downstairs, go get in my car. And so I run out and go in his car, and he goes all up and through the house. And then he comes back down, and he's like, okay, nobody's there. And I just looked at him and said, weren't you scared? How could you do that? And he said, if I'm scared, who's going to do what needs to be done? That was the most, like, I will never forget that. And I bring it up all the time, because to have that level of cut off your feeling to do something and just throw your well-being into the wind for somebody else's well-being, which was mine, was like the epitome. And that same brother and my mother's husband now also came through for me once when I was in a very bad relationship with somebody who was like, I'm in your house and I'm gonna harm myself and mess up stuff if you don't come home. I didn't go home. They went to my home and they figured it all out. And I thankfulness, okay, because that came through. Two very good situations. It was my aunt who was trying to get in, by the way.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Protection is a big thing. So I appreciate you sharing that as well. Thank you. Jam, I'm coming to you now. And I'll go to Mocha and then I'll go to Samuel. Yes.
Sure.
We're asking for experiences with my species or gender, you want to call it.
Yeah. So growing up, like I said, my mom and dad divorced when I was 5, and my dad decided to live out of state. Basically, we were in Texas. My mom went to Florida. My dad said he's gonna move to New York. So my relationship with my dad has always been long distance. I know you're psychoanalyzing me. That's why you think that I don't need a dad or whatever. I know it, but fine, whatever. Like this. So you asked the question, so I'm gonna answer it. So that was kind of my relationship with my dad. I was kind of like a daddy's girl until I, became aware and realized, and I still love my dad very much, but I know that my mom put in the ultimate sacrifice because she was there day in, day out. My dad, he was in New York. He had his life in New York. I would visit him ever so often, maybe during the summer. And now, we communicate over the phone. And then my mom got married to my stepdad when I was like 16. And I had never, like, besides living with grandparents, I had never like lived with a man before. And so that was very challenging. I mean, like, because he's very like masculine man, this is my house, da, 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 da. And I'm like, who is this? Or what it like, I'm just like, we were fine, you know, with talking to my mom, we were fine. We didn't need any extra, you know, whatever. But she really wanted to be married. And ultimately it ended up working out. And just through therapy, like what I have come to realize is that I've been really fortunate, actually. Like nothing, you know, sometimes when your mom is when you're in a single parent household, you like sometimes family members can or friends or whatever, you can sometimes be exposed to the wrong people and like bad things can happen to kids. And like nothing like that has happened to me, but along like my life, especially kind of as I started to engage with men in a romantic way, I think what I had noticed starting from my childhood is kind of in general like a lack of protection, like a lack of ability to like I won't say truly discern, but like I had this kind of in love with love like thing in my mind, and I kind of carry that, and very much saying I need a man, I want a man, I want, you know, to be in a loving relationship, very much like not only in love with, just really in love with the idea and the concept of that, right? And so to kind of feel like this lack of protection in the sense of, you know, maybe needing to kind of fend for myself as a child, but I'm trying to think in specific circumstances, just, you know, and how guys may their fathers may sit their girls down and talk to them about like relationships and stuff like that. I think my dad and I kind of did that, but not to the extent that maybe a father would do, like say if a father was in the home and show, you know, kind of create that level of like discernment. I think that in some way fed into my relationships, because I've had some good relationships, but then when it came to like I wanted to be married, someone was showing me the right things, but then like still not having that ability to discern like, okay, this is good for me and this is not good for me. So, you know, not having that protection growing up, and then also feeling like and getting in my marriage and not having that protection as well, it is now very hard for me to welcome someone in my life willingly and freely and say, protect me. And also too, now I'm considering having children and where a man may fall into that. And I'm just very protective. That's what my therapist says. Like I am very protective of my heart and of, let's say, my future children or my child or whatever, because I know that really the wrong man coming into your life can like totally like it can be catastrophic. So yeah, that's kind of my experience with non-relationship. And
I appreciate it, Jam. Thank you for sharing that vulnerability as well about being unprotected, because that's a very real thing, and that goes for us young boys as well. We know we internalize it maybe slightly differently, and because of the way that we show up in the world, it comes out slightly differently, but all the same, unprotection affects any young kid as well. So I appreciate you sharing those thoughts as well. Let me get to Mocha, and then I'm going to get Sam involved. So Mocha, you go first, and then Sam can jump in.
Hi, Kojo. Hey, everybody on the panel, and hey, chat. For me, because I'm in the same age group as Michelle, I'm older than Michelle. So for me, it's my father's been in my life my whole life, and as you know, me being an adult, you know, I have my own home. My father still comes over, mows the lawn, does whatever maintenance I need around my house. I can always depend on him for everything, you know, talk to him about stuff, run stuff by him. And he's one of those old school fathers, you know. I could never talk to him about sexual stuff, but, you know, when it comes to other stuff, you know, I could talk to him about it. and run things by him. So, you know, he's always been there, and I've always had good uncles that I could speak to, his brothers and my mother's brothers that I could always talk to. And I have 2 grandsons, and my daughter passed away when my grandsons were 2 years old and 6 years old. And I had 3 daughters, so having grandsons, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. So having been a single mother to daughters, and then having these grandsons, and then my daughter passed away, and helping my son-in-law with raising these 2 grandsons, and then I have a granddaughter who's in college. You know, it made me have to change my outlook on how I looked at men, and how I wanted to show them how I felt a woman should be and how a woman should treat men. Now, my grandchildren, they always, saw me work and saw me being responsible and all that kind of stuff. But, I try to, instill pride in them. My grandsons tease me, about me always having beef with somebody. Because like they always say to me, why don't I like this person, or why don't I like that person? So then I tell them, because they do things against the Black community. So I don't like them. So they're always tease me, who you got beef with today? So I'll tell them, I got beef with the governor of Texas. I got beef with the governor of Florida. I got beef with Drake, because Drake and 21 Savage made that song against Megan Thee Stallion, like stuff like that. And they laugh about it. But it's like my grandsons have a major impact on me, and even though these are 2 kids who are now 10 and 14, it's it's really changed my outview of, like I said, how I look at men, the men that I want them to become, without them being raised with their mother directly in the house. They have a stepmother, but she's not their mother, and they know that she's not their mother. So it's like, there's certain things that I want to instill in them, the values that I have, the values that their mother has, the values that my family has had. And I just want to give them that pride, because it's so easy for young men to go off the path, especially them with this trauma of losing their mother so young, and even though their father is there, and their father is African, but he's an Americanized African. So, I just try to instill that in. I instill stuff in them, and they instill stuff in me. It's that give and take love relationship, and I'm just so lucky that I have them. And as far as me, at my age, like when I was in my 20s and my 30s, like my outlook on needing and wanting a man, like I've been married 3 times, divorced 3 times, like that stuff has changed over the years to where I'm at now. It's like, I've seen so much. I've seen women at different ages going through different stuff. I see so many people get divorced and all that kind of stuff, fighting in the street, chasing people down, checking this. I don't want to go through all that. I really don't. I don't want to have to worry if you have another agenda. So I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I have friends and family I hang out with. And it's like, if it happens, it happens. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Because I see women and men getting married in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I know that it can happen. Am I out there looking for it? No. So that's where I am with it.
Thank you very much, Mocha. I appreciate that, honestly. Samuel, talk to me. What are you saying?
First of all, Kojo, I hope you're doing all good. It's been a long time. Just been working a lot, so I haven't been able to get onto these shows as much. But hello to all the panelists. I hope you're all doing well as well. I saw the question and I said this is a very interesting question, because a lot of people will say women don't need men in this generation. My straight answer is women do need men, but vice versa, men need women as well. So what I'm gonna speak about, always remember this in your mind, that this also applies in the opposite direction as well. I'm a Christian, and everything that I try to draw from my ideas, my beliefs and everything is from the word of God. God has given men this responsibility and authority on this earth. Now, what has happened over time as sin has come into this earth is that men have abused this authority and responsibility. Now, what you get from it now is women looking at this and saying, looking at all the abuse of the responsibility and authority and fighting back with it. And you get a lot of women in today's generation saying, we don't need men. Look at what men are doing. We don't need them. Now, I understand where it comes from, but it's actually a lie from hell. And I'll tell you why. When you look at a lot of single mothers, and when I've spoken to a lot of single mothers, especially, and I sit down with them, I have an honest conversation with them. Most of the answers that, or the responses that I get from them is that, Samuel, I wish I had help. I wish I had help. We have a lot of women that will go out and work for themselves, get their money for themselves. They even have their own kids and raise them by themselves. And recently, I've been having discussions with women like that do all of that, and actually, they come and turn around and say, Samuel, I need help. Now, it is hard. For me, marriage is not supposed to be a one-person job. It's supposed to be a two-people job. The father and the mother. It's not supposed to be the mother on her own. It's not supposed to be the father on his own. They both need each other to coexist, to raise the child up properly. Now, I'm a coach, and I go into different schools around London. And firsthand, especially when I go into girls' schools, especially around Black girls, most of the schools are made up with teachers that are women. But when they see a Black male come into the school and they build a rapport, and we build a rapport with them, the difference that it makes to the child, they can't see it, but you see it. I remember I was doing one coaching session with a girls' school, and we do on water sessions. So they go out and do water sports, have fun. I'll make sure they're safe, teach them a little bit about different things. And I remember there was this one girl that she was very quiet, but she was very responsive towards me. She was speaking, she was responding to me very well. Well, a black girl. And I remember after the session, the teacher came up to me and said, "Thank you, Samuel." And I was like, "Oh no, do you know, it's my job. I do this like just any other day." And she said, "No, Samuel. The background for this is that this certain child that you were speaking to, her father left her when she was very young. The effect it had on her is that she doesn't trust Black men at all. The fact that you got her to speak to you and there was good responses between the both of you, she'd never seen that before." When I heard that, I almost sat down and just like, you know, when you really think about something, you really deep something, it's just like, did I just make that little bit of an impact with only those few conversations that I had with that child? Do you get what I'm saying? Sorry, give me 1 second. I've got literally got a call. So move on. You can move on.
That's all right, brother. That's all right, bro. When you come back, you'll finish the story. Yeah, okay. Bomb cherry juice. We're talking about, obviously, do women need men in 2023? We're talking about some positive experiences of dealing with men outside of a romantic partner. Go for it.
Okay, how's everybody doing? Can I be heard?
We can be heard. You can be heard. You're heard.
So I have lots of positive experiences with men, Black men in particular. So I was raised with my father and my mother. I have a brother, uncles, cousins. So, and we was raised, you know, I'm older. So in the communities that I was raised in, there were lots of men around who would protect us. So I do believe that it takes more than just two parents to raise a child. Take a village, a community, right? Because even with me and my husband raising our children, yeah, it's hard. So I know it's hard on the single women. At the same time, though, into 2023, a lot has changed, and we do not have the same type of men that we had back then. We have, wow, it's just so different. I can't even believe it myself. Like, after coming on the internet and running across these young men and some of the things that they're saying, it's very disrespectful. So do we need men? I think that the men, right? There's a difference between men and boys. So I'm gonna be clear on that. And I think a man could be a very, if you have a man who loves you and honors you instead of just wanting to rule you under his thumb, then yes, we can do great things together, Black women and Black men. But at the same time, do we need a man? I'm gonna have to say no. There are those of us who want men, because remember, there are some women who don't want men for whatever reason. Maybe something happened to them when they were younger. It could be many things, right? She can still survive and in today's society without a man. But and I wondered, if you men, do you care if we need you? Wouldn't you rather us want you? Because now we're not getting with you just because of your provisions, as y'all put it, right? But a woman who wants you because she desires you, loves you, she wants to honor you, she wants to, you know, have your back and you have hers, and y'all raise a family together. That to me is what I have, and that's what I desire to have. And I want all women, my sisters and my brothers, to have that. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you answered it.
I've been married 33 years, by the way. 33 years last week on Valentine's Day.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so.
You know you're going to come back and tell us the story, right?
Yeah, whenever, yeah.
All right, make sure you message me so we can get that story going. I appreciate that, because we need to hear positive stories like that. Samuel, go for it. You're finishing off your story, and then
sorry, I do apologize about that. You know, when you've been ringing someone all day and then they ring you at the wrong time.
It's okay, brother. It's no problem. You're good.
So yeah, just going back to it, the conversation that I had with that the young girl, it just made me think. I made that little difference in those few conversations with her. How much more of a difference can a man that is there with his responsibilities, can take care of his responsibilities, doesn't abuse his authority? How much more impact than those kind of men can impact the community? I understand. Sorry, who just spoke?
It was Bomb Cherry just spoke.
I understand a lot of what Bomb Cherry said, and yes, I would want a woman to want me, to cherish me, instead of feel like they need me in a sense. But it's like I want to build an empire. I wanna build something with a woman, so that where my weakness is, that's her strength. where her weakness is, that's my strength, and we can build each other up by it. But the only way that we can do that is that if I work on myself, where I feel like there's a lot of toxic things that I need to change about myself, where I need to improve about myself, I go away and do that before I come into a relationship with those traits and then damage her because I haven't worked on myself. I haven't dealt with the things that I have needed to deal with in the past. And vice versa with women as well. So do women need men? In the sense of going back to my point in the beginning, yes. Do men need women? Yes. And I'll end with that.
No, I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. I'll share a story and I'll let Sean go after. And I think this is I asked for the positives because I think sometimes we always get a negative aspect, right? We know, I think everyone's got a story of a negative man in this situation and a negative woman, right? But I think I'll even give a live response right now. Bruiser, I love you, but Bruiser's in the chat, and Bruiser's first comment was hella out of pocket, right? But the first thing that happened was that Trey instantly got on him. As much as the ladies got on him, Trey also got on him. And what that was an instant response in terms of the kind of community that we've built. And when you're building a community, you start to realize how important men are because they set the tone, right? So when we create this environment here where my lovely ladies can come, Jam, Amani, Bomb Cherry, Mocha, Michelle can come and have a conversation, it's a safe space because the men have made sure that, listen, we're gonna listen, we're gonna hear you, we're gonna give you a chance to speak, we're not gonna cut you off, we're not gonna do any of that kind of stuff. We want to actually understand. And I think that in itself is a positive experience. When we talk about positive men, I look to the people that come on this channel who get on a panel regularly with us as men and how they handle themselves. And I said, this is how we want to have it, right? People are going to be respectful. They're going to, talk with obviously their own opinions, but they're going to show respect to the other parties. And I think that in its sense is a great example. But from my own experience, I tell you about my dad. I mean, one day I was, and you grew up in the hood a little bit, and I got into an altercation with one of the guys, younger brother. And I say younger, we were the same age at the time. And me and him got into it. And, we got into a bit of a fight. It was over football. I then was going home. I got into the elevator when you're in, your little flat, we call it in UK. But I was getting in the elevator and one of the guys came into the elevator. So it's a very awkward 16 floors that we're going up. And he's in the elevator with me, right? He jumps off early and he ends up punching me in the face and runs off. So I didn't have no chance to reply, nothing. So obviously I go home. I'm not in any tears or anything, but I'm just like, I'm so shocked. I'm like, brother, how is man going to just punch me in the eye and then run off? Like, he didn't even give me a chance to fight. He just punched me in the eye and run off. Wow. So I go back downstairs. I take the elevator back down, and then two of the other guys like grab me and then we have like bins underneath the flats. If you're in UK, I don't know if it's the same in America, but you have like massive bin chutes underneath the flats, right? These two boys grabbed me and he put me into the where the bins are, and I think they took my backpack and threw it into one of the big containers, whatever, right? So I'm struggling to get my stuff out after they've left me. It's all pitch dark and everything. I'm grabbing my bag and everything. I'm pissed and I'm a little bit, I'm hurt, bro. Like, I'm like, this has never happened to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, 11, 12 or whatever I am. So I'm going home now. And as I get home, I'm like, I get in there and then my dad can see that I'm a little bit down. And I'm like, he's like, what's up? And I said, at this point I'm thinking to myself, these are goons from the ends. This could end badly. I don't need to say anything. So I said, no, nothing happened. He said, but your eye is swelling. So what happened? So I didn't realize my eye is swelling at this point, right? And so he's like, what happened? I said, oh, it's silly, man. Just little boys, just altercations and everything like that. Stupid stuff. He said, no. We gonna sort this out. I'm like, no. leave it, because these are goons. These ain't your one or two boys at my school. Okay, I went to a white primary school, so it's not one of those ones. These are these boys that do the drugs. Okay, they might, juk. So let's not. All right. He said, no. We going downstairs and we're gonna sort this out. So we go downstairs, and I kid you not. So his older brother comes out, because we go to see the parents first, and the parents, and I'm just honest with you, some parents are dog shit. I'm gonna be honest with you, because your kids are terrorists and a menace in the community, and you still defend him. No wonder why their behavior is mad. You understand? So the parents is defending it, saying nothing. He hasn't done anything. Doesn't do anything. All right, cool. But then his older brother, is about 6'5", won't leave it alone. He feels disrespected that we came into the home and challenged. So now we're outside, and there's like 20 man pulling up, right? And these are the days of scooters, the little scooters that we used to ride when you used to push one, not the electric one that you guys got, the push one, okay? Because some of y'all have electric scooters. You've been enjoying too much, all right? So obviously now the 6-foot guy, brother, has got the scooter. And I remember my dad said to me, and let me tell you something, listen, there's been a few times that I've looked at my dad like, you're actually mad at what you're thinking about doing right now. It's me and him, 20 other man. This is not going to end well. So my dad says, the guy's carrying a scooter, and my dad says to him, I remember it's clearly, because I was looking at Dad, let's just go home and leave us alone. I will never look at you differently. There's 20 man here. So, you know what I mean? And then my dad says to him, sorry, my sound went. Apologies. My sound went. I was saying that obviously, so my dad was like, said to the guy, listen, look, if you hit me with that scooter, I promise you you're dead. And I'm thinking to myself, but how would he be dead if you dead? That don't make no sense. I'm really thinking about this, and I'm thinking that I've put my dad into a situation. This is mad. Like, I should just kept quiet and said nothing. This guy swings the scooter. I've never seen my dad be so agile. I don't know where the belly went. The belly went. I don't know what happened. Man ducked the scooter. Yeah. And I don't know if God was involved. As soon as he ducked the scooter, the police siren went off. I think maybe there was too many men in one area. You know how they deal with black people in the hood. But the police siren went off and everyone scattered. But I remember as I was walking my dad back home, and I said to him, why did you do that? He said, because you're my son. I'm looking at him like, yeah, but Dad, there's 20 man. Yeah, and I'll die if 20 man try it. But I'm like, there's 20 man. In my head, I'm thinking to myself, let's do the safe thing and get out of here. You know what I mean? We can fight another day. He said, nah, sometimes you have to fight. And I'm like, Dad, no. But you told me that I shouldn't always be fighting. So this is what he said, but there's some days you have to take a stand. Let me tell you something. This story always sticks with me because even though I always tell you guys about the fact, I think emotionally he wasn't always the best. That told me that my dad loved me. That without a shadow of a doubt, if man was standing against 20 man who are ready to do business to you, and this is the ends. You guys know, if you're in the hood, you know these men who are ready to do something. If your dad is ready to stand up to 20 man, that's a different level of love. You understand? That's a sacrificial love because he could die that day. And so that for me instantly told me, wow, this is a different type of love. And it stuck with me in my whole entire life up until this point. You probably wouldn't remember, he's old now, but you know what I mean? But those are the moments I'm saying that you can't buy that. The MasterCard can't buy that. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I understand when people say that the protection piece is a big thing. It's a huge thing, but it's not just physical. It also has to be emotional. You know what I mean? But we'll get to that point in the conversation as well. Sean, you're the last one before we start asking some real questions on the panel now. You said we said about obviously positive experiences of a male person in your life. It doesn't have to be a dad if you need it to be. It could be anybody, but anybody who's been a positive experience in your life as a male figure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, for some, people that watch the channel regularly and, maybe have seen me here several times, I did lose my dad at 16. However, I do remember him always telling me that he loved me, giving me hugs. And he was clear about why he was doing that, because, you know, that's what he always wanted from his dad. And, you know, I remember my dad always, and at the time I didn't always understand it, but I loved to hear his stories. And sometimes he would share things with me because he wanted me to learn from his mistakes. He wanted me to make better choices. And it always sat with me as I, you know, unfortunately lost him so young. I can remember our conversations. I can remember, you know, just things that he would tell me, and just think of those moments so highly, because, you know, it helped to shape the way I think, the way I did things. But yeah, no, definitely the fact that he, you know, always was loving to me. And my dad was also a tough cookie, so it was a very interesting balance, you know, the way that he, you know, he showed his love, but he was always sure to tell me that he loved me. That was the last words he said to me, you know, even not knowing that that would be our last time seeing each other. When I saw him, he told me he loved me. You know, we'd end every phone conversation with "and I love you." Even when we might not have been getting along, he always made it a point to tell me that he loved me. And he didn't just tell me, he showed me, you know, in the way that he treated me and talked to me and took time out to make sure that I understood what he was talking about. And I think, you know, thinking back then, those years, you don't appreciate it, but, you know, he also had an untraditional or non-traditional way of discipline. Like, he didn't believe in hitting. Now, my mother, she would go after me. She wasn't like extremely physical, but she definitely was quicker to give a spanking or two before he would. He probably hit me one time, well, twice. One time I made a mess in my grandmother's house and he just popped me in the back of my head. And another time when I was a teenager and I thought I was grown, like a lot of us do when we get that testosterone, you know, coursing through our veins. And I thought I was going to challenge him. And, you know, I just got my little chest pushed back a little bit. So outside of that, you know, and looking at it now, I needed that moment to be humbled, to be reminded that I wasn't grown. And also knowing that throughout the course of my life, he never, ever spanked me. He didn't believe in any of that. And those are some of the things that I took through me and things that I, you know, want to carry through with my kids. It's like, I don't think you need to hit kids. Now, again, I'm not trying to preach to anybody. People raise their kids the way they want to. But in my experience, I believe that you don't need to be physical with kids to help them learn. I learned so much. And sometimes I would rather a spanking, because I would have to do essays, explain what I did wrong, you know, and really kind of dig deep into what happened and why it happened. So it forces you to think, it forces you to have skills that you'll use later on. And I think those are some of the things that are traditions that I want to take with me, you know, in raising my kids.
I love that. Love that. And I just want to add quickly as well, because Samuel said something really powerful, right? And I wanted to add it in, and I'll let the ladies chime back in again. What you said about going into even an all-girls school and just kind of just being a positive presence, it is a powerful thing. It is not to be underestimated, the level of impact you can have in a child's life. And this is why I'm saying that, you know, positive Black role models, especially men, are so critical, because we have so much negativity around being as a Black male. And there are obviously experiences that go alongside that too, which connect the two. So you get your confirmational bias, and then you also get people's actual experience combined to the two. It's going to be very difficult to change that narrative, right? And so it's so powerful when you have positive Black men who show love and appreciation, you know, and are emotionally intelligent, and are able to come into spaces and be able to bring a ray of sunshine or light in a situation. And I think it's not to be underestimated. You know what I mean? Like I I have younger sisters, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes stuff that my dad does, I look at him and I say, that's the trauma that's talking for you. You know what I mean? I have to, sometimes I have to even stand in a gap for them, because some of the things that he does is from his perspective, which I'm looking, I'm like, that ain't it. You're going to create more trauma, right? Love my dad. Don't even get it twisted. But there's some things he be doing, it be coming out of survival mode. And it's like, we don't exist in that space no more. You know what I mean? So even that, in that aspect, you know, and something that my dad even says to me is like, I'm getting old. I now look at you not even as a son no more. You're a friend. You're now old enough to even tell me what to do. At one point, you'll be wheeling me around. I said, don't think about it. You wheel yourself around, because ain't nobody getting involved with it. Okay. But no, but you know, like what he's trying to say is that you get to a point where, you know, things even change, dynamics change. But what's so important is, again, what influence we're having on those people. I did some conversation. I had some conversations with my younger sisters and stuff, and sometimes I'm the older brother, but sometimes I miss stuff. I didn't even know some of the stuff that's even going on sometimes. You understand? There's a lot of stuff going on with young Black girls. I didn't even know until they come and tell me this story. I'm like, wow, is that what you're going through? Why didn't you tell me? No, but you know, but already the culture has been set in the family that everybody handles their own ish. So when things are happening, no one talks, because we've been built in a culture where it's like, keep your business to yourself, handle it. And that so someone might see from the outside, you got two parents, it's amazing, you know, they're still together, but within that, when you're actually in it, some things are broken, they don't work. And so people may see that, oh, they've got two parents, it must be brilliant, but it's not. It needs more sometimes, and sometimes it's more than what a parent in this stage can give. And this is why I believe that as a generation, especially my generation, if you're, you know, the 90s born, I class you guys as the generational breakers. And I say that because you have enough knowledge, you have enough understanding, you are being fed wisdom. You know, you guys have all the buzzwords now. You know, we have all the buzzwords. We know all the healthy things that should be done. That means you have to also do it. It's not just knowing it, but it's also doing it. So I call us generational breakers, because the information you're about to come into, you're going to use that to change the narrative. As for me, Sean, I might, you know, the child might get a little one too. You know what I mean? But I believe in what you're saying, though. I was literally thinking about this, and it's my last point, and I'll pass it to Jam. I was literally thinking about what you just said just yesterday. I was going on my walk, and I said, you know, as I've started to realize more about maybe the way I want to be able to condition my children, maybe the beat is not the best way to go about things. That should be the last thing on my resort. Maybe I should have more conversation and try to understand where the person comes from. There's other forms of discipline I can install. I think the Nigerians got it really right. You know what? Bucket on the head is a really good way of punishing them without beating them. You know what I'm saying? Like, all jokes aside, I think there's another way to go about it. So I was thinking about it. So I'm hearing you. You know what I'm saying? And again, good conversation. Jam, I can tell by the body language you've been waiting to say something, baby. Oh, no, baby. Don't go quiet now, baby. Tell us something. Tell us something, Jam. Tell me something. I can, you know, I want to hear from you.
What do you want to know?
I mean, don't know.
Yeah, I guess in the stories, I hear, I don't know, you know, I admire and hear all the positive, I guess, stories that, particularly those who have fathers in the home, or who had fathers in the home. I still, and whether this be, so let me take a step back. So I was married, as I said. Provided that had worked out, you know, I would have continued on the path and would have had children with him, and like that would have been the story, right? But it didn't work out like that for me, and I'm okay with that. Like, I have a level of acceptance with that, and I am moving on, and I'm excited about this path, this new path. My ability, or, you know, I believe God-given ability because, you know, I had to find a new job like that would pay for me to do IVF like a couple of rounds, you know, like I had to really like, you know, I had to finish grad school, like all of those things, you know, it's not a brag. It's like when you like all of the external or the energy I kind of focused on or was really drained from this partner, I really took it and I applied it inward, right? And like, so maybe that was kind of my mode of like survival or whatever. And I feel like, this actually was not what I was going to say, but I'm kind of being led there by what I'm saying is that, you know, I know like there's this thing about soft life versus like, you know, the strong Black woman, like, you know, trope or whatever. And I, again, I guess I say in the absence of, I believe I support and I stand behind good men. I love good men. Trash ass men, I ain't with them. I don't like them. And I don't think that women should, I would love it that we wouldn't give space to those types of men in our lives, right? So on that same vein, if I don't have this good man, like I'm gonna have to be strong in some ways, right? Because I have to, while I'm in this single period, whether it be like a finite or forever, I still have goals. I still have things that I need to achieve. I still have like things that I want to see happen for my life, right? And in turn make happen for my children's lives. And maybe that is kind of, for someone, I could see that being quite a bit of pressure, but like, I don't know, man, again, I'm healed, but like for those who have been married and when you're in a bad marriages can like kill your soul. Like it can, like the work that you have to do on yourself after that, it makes you think long and hard before you partner with someone else. And so again, that's kind of that place that I was at the end of my marriage. I was like, you know, I need time, but I don't have time from a fertility standpoint. So like, what am I left to do? And I could not be comfortable with, and I guess this is on the not needing a man. I couldn't be comfortable with giving my agency away to a man or, you know, a man, maybe almost even like my ex-husband, giving my agency away to my ex-husband and or anyone else who is not there, who should be there. I'm going to move forward anyway. So that's kind of what I want to say. I could say more, but
no. I'm appreciating you. Yeah. Can I push back?
Sure.
Ask a question.
Of course.
So you gave a great experience of what you've gone through. You know, you spoke about your father and spoke about your stepdad as well. And then you spoke about a really powerful word. You said the feeling of unprotection.
Sure.
Yeah. So if I was to ask and say, if you were to have a child, how would you stop that feeling also coming onto the child if you were to raise that child knowing you were taking the father figure, this quote unquote, role out of the picture? How would you navigate that place and not repeat the cycle of what you experienced by removing the father figure out of the picture to have a child?
Well, when I say unprotection, I mean maybe a certain level of shelter, being sheltered, maybe not being put up on game on certain things, right? Like having to learn about things through experience rather than like saying my father figure coming and sitting me down and like saying, watch out for this. Anybody can make their mouth say this, you know, like watch for action over like sustained action over a long period of time, just things that I've learned. And so I think that provided those lessons, and maybe my mom did cover those things with me, but then again, you know, maybe she also didn't understand or know some of those things to tell me, right? So I can only impart the lessons that I've learned to my children. I will say this, like, I do have, like, I know the genders of my embryos. I am thinking very hard about whether to bring a son in this world or not, because I know that there are things that I may not be able to teach my son. So I'm thinking very, 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 very hard about that. I know how to be a woman. And even like I said, even being not having necessarily a father figure in the home, or let's say my dad in the home, but I love my dad if you ever see this. I know that there are some things that may be missed, but I have brothers, I have a community, I have a really strong support system. That's the only answer that I can provide. And I have God, honestly. You know, I'm gonna, you know, just like my mom did me, you know, when I was in the womb with her, she gave me back to God. And that is what I will do with my children as well. So do I have all the answers? No, but that's kind of how I plan to address the protection issue.
No, I hear that. So I wanna be protective over you, right? So I'm gonna say this in this way. My protection for you would be to stop you from having that child without a father figure. And I'll tell you why. I can never replace you, Jam, as a mother. I never can. I can do a good enough job. I can get another woman to be involved, but I can never replace you. Jam, you are irreplaceable. If you would take myself out of it, you have a husband and wife, that husband can never replace you, ever, because you are unique in the role that you play, right? And as a man, there are things that I know instinctively that a woman can never teach a daughter or a son. And there are things that as a mother or as a woman, instinctively, you'll be able to teach the son or the daughter that I will never be able to teach them, right? So when we have situations where it's a choice to go into that scenario, not if someone passed away, again, like Amani, I said, my condolences again. If someone passed away, it's slightly different. That choice is taken away. The person's passed away, or if the person's sick or something like that, then they haven't had the choice to be involved, right? But when we have a situation where we take a choice, right? Sometimes as a protective piece, as a man, sometimes we have to get involved, quote unquote, in situations and say, I don't think that action is the right action to take. You may not see it now, but the consequence of that action is generational. Jam, I'll be very honest and very frank with you. You can do whatever you want, and you are going to do whatever you want because I ain't your daddy, okay? So you can do whatever you want, right? But the reality of this situation is that child is better suited with both healthy being the key operative word, parents on both sides. Because Jam, let me tell you something, as a woman, as our brother Samuel said, you're gonna get tired. As a husband, as a man, I'm gonna get tired. Anybody having to do a job of two people gonna get tired. But not only that, I think in this instance as well, like I said, the example the example of your own life is actually about to be repeated, because how you felt unprotected is not about money. It's not about, unless him spending money on you. It's not about that per se. What you required of that man, the father figure, what you required of him was presence. And that presence cannot be reproduced. It can be replicated in a particular way by having brothers. I've got brothers. You know what I mean? It can be replicated in that particular way, but to replace that original, no one can do. right? That doesn't mean that we can't have a replica. It doesn't mean we can't have people coming in and of course we have blended families and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that aspect. I'm saying that if we're choosing to go into that lane, then you're actually choosing to replicate the scenario that you actually had when you were younger. You would actually put your child in the exact same position. And so I'm saying as a man, if I'm doing my protective piece, I can't let you go and not say, hey, babe, I think you should look at this from a different point of view. Now, this is where the protective piece as men come in. Sometimes we say stuff and it don't feel good and it don't feel nice. And I know, and I've seen some of the comments where like, go on, sis, do what you want to do. And I'm like, yeah, I hear that. But if I'm doing my job as a man appropriately, that loves people, that will show love to you outwardly, there will be times I'll be like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but let me tell you the truth. There's going to be a consequence for choosing this path because you've chosen it for you.
Kojo,
knowingly.
I have a question for you.
Yes, Michelle. Go for it.
Are you saying this strictly from the fact that she would be choosing to have her own biological child, or is that where you're coming from? Because I would be curious if you would have the same advice for her if she was looking to maybe adopt a child or foster a child that is already here. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
I love that. I think, but the question actually answers itself. The child is already in a position where it has lost its original parents.
Okay. Well, that's what I was wondering, if that's where you were going for. So you're basically coming from the standpoint that to bring another child into the world is really what you're objecting to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
That part. Sorry. Yeah, so I should have made that clear. My bad. I appreciate you clearing out, Michelle, as well. So that's the part I'm not even objecting. I'm pushing back on, because me objecting, I can't have a say on your life. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, objecting is a harsh word. I meant, calling attention to.
I appreciate you, Michelle, because like I said, I want to make it. It's a safe space. It's not an attack. It's a conversation. But Jam, you got your mic open. Go for it. I don't know if so you can.
Yeah, I guess I appreciate you saying that. This sounds a lot better than what you said before, which is that we don't, women that choose this path don't care about children's lives or our lives in particular. That's what you said. But it's I think, while I understand what you're saying, I think what is hard is that women maybe around my age or like me, we are being faced with a decision. Are we going to give up on being mothers? And that desire is very strong. It's not one that I wouldn't say, I can't speak for all women, but it's just for some, maybe I won't even say maybe most, you assume I'm going to get married, I'm going to have children, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get my degrees, I'm doing all the things that I can do in order to ensure that I am a good partner, a good citizen, a good parent, right? So what is the appropriate answer? I would like for you to tell me, Kojo, what is the appropriate answer for a woman who has reached or is reaching the end of her ability to have a child? Is she just supposed to say having children is not for me because either the right man has not approached her or a right man is not available? What would you say that we should do? Because for men, you guys are, even though we can have the children, for men, it's you guys are very much so in control, and the numbers are in your favor also, right? So what would you say is the appropriate response?
I appreciate you letting me even talk on this, because I know it's a sensitive topic. I would there's a harsh reality in this situation, right? So the first thing I would say, let me honor this first of all, there is a real biological clock that's ticking for yourself, which is what you were describing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real thing that's happening, right? Which is what is the driving motivation right now. But the reality is that when, and I can only come from a Christian standpoint, and you've also professed being Christian as well, God didn't make us in such a way that we bring children in intentionally removing one of the partners out of it. Because the whole point is, I need you, Jam. This is why that when the men's panel was talking about, we really meant it. No, I need you, Jam. I don't just need you just to procreate. I need you in terms of your energy, the way you think, the way that you move, the way you do things, because you have a different way of looking at life. And it's complementary energy that's absolutely needed in order for us to live harmoniously in life. If men are just left alone, listen, we might survive, but it's gonna be a brutal world, bro. You know, having women in that space is so beautiful. So in regards to hold on, Armani, sorry, it's a background noise, that's why. So I'll just mute you. When you're ready to, I'll bring you on in a second. But in regards to what to do, I'm gonna tell you a harsh reality. Adopt. And I'll tell you why. I know that it's a harsh reality to say that, because why shouldn't you have the privilege to have children from your own womb? And I would say, I hear that, right? But not everything that we want can or should be done. Because at the end of the day, it is not a car you're grabbing. It's not an inanimate object. It is a child that is living. And what I'm afraid of, not just for you, is any woman taking this course intentionally down that lane, is they forget that the child is also going to be affected. There is no way you can replace. I mean, listen, you're absolutely right. You tell a child the truth and say, listen, I had you because I loved you. He's going to appreciate that, right? But the reality is that we have countless stories of children wanting to have a relationship either with the father or the mother. And if we're now choosing to vacate that, there's going to be some consequences that we'll start realizing later on in generations to come. Right now, we won't see it because we're now going down this path. And you're not the only one. There's many people doing this. So we're going down a path, right? It will get down to next generation, and you'll start hearing people's story about how they regret these things happening. And I'm not talking from your side, I'm talking about from the child side, because children we're endowed with this kind of need or kind of desire for having both the male and the female, the mother and the father. And to remove that intentionally, there's going to be some backlash. Right? If a kid's had that removed by itself, that's fair. It's the father figure wasn't there, he's run away or something like that. It is something that's out of the control. But if we're doing it intentionally, then the decision about having a child doesn't become about bringing love into the world. It becomes about ourselves. It becomes about how I have a desire for something and I'll do it and I'll have it. I don't mind. And that's the harsher reality of the situation. The child itself should be considered here. And that's why I was pleading with you've had an experience of being unprotected. No matter how much you do, no matter how much your mom does, she's not your father. And she can never replace that person. The stepdad is good, but he's never your father. It can never replace that person. I cannot replace Jam. If we had a kid, I can't replace you. No matter how much I try, I can only do my best that's the best I can do. I can do the best I can do, but I can never replace you. That's not how God designed it to be. This is why the penis has a vagina. It goes in perfectly. You know why? Because the two are needed. the two are so needed. So he doesn't want us to go alone, because this is why women are so powerful. You have the ability, the right woman anyway, you have the ability to quell a man. Many men have started war because of a woman. Many men have killed a man because of a woman. The power of a woman, God has given us both the ability to influence one another. So what I'm saying is, the harsher reality would be adopt. That's the harsher reality. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Go for it, Jam, and then I'll get someone else to jump in and converse.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Coach, I hear you, you know, when you say that this is the decision that we're making. I mean, I'm making, I guess. And one thing I hope you can appreciate is your experience growing up is not necessarily all of our experiences growing up. I wouldn't say I necessarily missed like having my dad around, because the situation that was there was always there. The scenario was he lived out of town, and that's what it was. And so I grew to know that was normal for me, right? So I think I have a good relationship with my dad, but of course it's not as probably deep, or the experiences aren't as grand as if my dad grew up in the home with me, right? So for me, I don't necessarily value, even though, again, I value good marriages, good relationships. You know, I can't I think that is the ideal. But for me, since I didn't necessarily have that scenario kind of growing up, I'm not feeling like I'm missing, that my child is missing that in the same sense that you may feel that. So that's the first thing. And then I know it's hard to grasp the concept of what a donor is, because you think a donor is like a dad, but a donor is a good thing. A lot of times we think of a donor as being some dad, some man that's like an absentee father, and that's not what it is. But you know, it's children that are raised, and I've looked at studies too, and I know, I can't remember if it was you or someone else, like the response was, as I tried to explain, you said, I don't care how you twist it, you think that what I'm doing is wrong. And I respect that. But I think what I'm doing is right. I am not going into this situation unprepared. I am, you know, there's single mom by circumstance, there's single mom by choice. There's a lot of planning, all the shots, all of the things, the procedures, myomectomy, all of that. I would continue to do it over and over again as long as I can realize being a parent or being a mom. And I know for you, it's acceptable to seek a route of adoption. I'm not ruling that out, but I started this process and I'm going to finish it. But I appreciate your insight.
Oh yeah, by the way, this wasn't me trying to change your mind. It's more of I had questions I wanted to
Yeah. And I think it's important to have this conversation, because I know I know there's those who disagree maybe with this decision. Someone may come across this right later on, and they may be on the verge of like, should I or shouldn't I? And so these are the things that they should consider. You should consider it from your perspective, growing up in a 2-parent household, and from my perspective, you know, having kind of a bonus parent and arriving to this decision, you know, at later on in life. And what I'm finding, honestly, is that there are some women, younger women, who are deciding to do this like in their 20s. And that's different. Like that's something that we haven't necessarily seen like in this community. And I say community because there's like like if you go on Facebook still exists, right? Facebook still has its places in the world. There's like 1,000 Black women across the world, and they don't publicize it, right? But like we have a community in which we support and share. And you know, how do you handle when a child goes through this? How do you handle a child? Not replacing a dad, but at any rate, I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm gonna let somebody else talk on it. It's not all about me.
I have one last question.
Sure.
I do have one last question. Sorry, I have one last question.
Yeah.
It's gonna be wild. Do you place value on what a man is?
What do you mean?
Do you believe a man's contribution to your life is worthwhile?
Like, I mean, before my divorce, or like, I mean, for now.
Right now, do you place value? I'm asking the question is, and how do you value men now? What is your value of, what's your estimation of men now? What is your viewpoint towards men now?
I mean, like men in my life or relationship wise? I'm trying to contextualize.
Let's take both. Take both.
So, okay, like men in my life, I value them highly. Actually, sometimes my points of view, I'm very hesitant to talk about how I feel choosing this path because I don't want to speak against any of the men in my life or men. Like I value men. My friends are in great loving relationships. I'm the single one, and that's okay. I kind of just accepted that that's the way it is. Now, from a relationship standpoint, I don't know. Like I said, after I had went through my, I went through my divorce and all of that, I kind of put that to the side so that I could focus on healing and focus on tackling and moving forward with having a family. Do I see myself dating sometime in the future? Yes, but also there's a caveat because I've seen all of this rumblings of the Kevin Samuels and the single moms trying to get picked so they can be, live off of, some man's bankroll, and that's not me. So I am fully prepared. If I never get in a relationship again, never get married again, I will do it on my own, and I'm okay with that. So. Does that answer your question?
No, I didn't hear what the value you placed on us. I'm genuinely intrigued to find out what value you place on us. What value do we hold, right? Because let me give an example. When I talk about the men and I say and them, if you like, I have some guys and listen, I tell them all the time, like, listen, brother, if you don't look after your kid, me and you can't be a kin. We can't walk together because I don't rate that, right? I place a value on something, and so I'm asking by the way, I really appreciate you listening and giving a conversation. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you for your candidness and your transparency here. The reason why I was asking about the value is because if I decide to remove you from the equation, it's because I don't value your contribution. I don't believe it's worthy enough or it will affect the situation enough for me to have you removed. Because if I knew that your contribution is essential, it has weight, I know that it influences, it does something, I don't remove you from the equation. If I don't value your contribution, I remove you from the equation because I can do it on my own. I don't need you to be involved. That's why I asked, what's your value system of us as men? Because my viewpoint would be, if you valued us and you valued our contribution, you wouldn't remove us from the equation. The very same reason why I look at men who leave their children for women, they don't value themselves and value what they can bring to that child. That's why they leave. They don't believe in their value. So if you believe in a value of a man, you will not remove us from the equation.
I think I value men, but I don't have faith or almost the desire to get back out there and try and hope that I'm going to meet someone and like we're going to live, I just don't have the belief system that like that, you know, like everything that I put into, like, I hate it, you know, of course my past is coming up again, but like,
yeah, that's fine.
I did that, you know, and like to get me back there again, I'm just not, I don't have it. I don't have it to give. Like, I don't, and that's what's the leading thing for me. Even though maybe I think I'm healed because I don't have any anger, but like if you're saying that, like, Jamila, you gotta get back out there and date and engage and get to know, and like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, I'm just not interested in the way. I don't know how else to say it. I said it actually.
No, you said it. You said it.
So if you're telling me that I got to do that in order to get to, like, I remember it being in my marriage and dreading it, but I thought what was out there, being single and dating, from what I recall, was much, much worse. And like, I am not in a place where I just desire to do. I just don't have it. I don't have it to give. I'm not interested. You know, I'm in support of other people that want to do it. I ain't got it. I'm not there. So does that mean that I do not value you? I don't, from a romantic standpoint, I guess. From a romantic standpoint, my peace that I have right now is so good. And I don't want to compromise that potentially for some fuck boy, some whatever, I'm sorry, curse, whatever it is.
No, you're good.
I am not trying to, like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm not there. I don't want to deal with it.
Okay, so I'm shaking. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a bit shaky. So bear with me, yeah. I'm a bit shaky because I think we're getting somewhere. And whenever I start feeling shaky, it means we're getting somewhere. You're now getting to the core crux of what really is the issue. And this is why I'm pursuing the conversation, because you're being vulnerable enough to have this conversation, right? But what you described is the key issue. You've mentioned that you're healed. Listen, I believe I'm healed, but I know there's parts of me still broken. And because my technique is not that I get angry, it's that I avoid. So it will look to the outer realms of people like, oh, he's healed. No. I avoid certain situations. I go numb in certain situations. And so it will look to the outer side that, oh, God is fully healed. And I'll tell you, if you really get to the crux of it, you'll realize, nah, coach, you're still broken in some areas. So sometimes the anger is the first step that many of us may feel when such situations like this happen to us. And oftentimes that can be the indicator or the indication that we are not necessarily healed. But once we get past that point, we still have to ask the question is, how do I handle this? Because what you've said here is so beautiful. You said, I've got peace. I don't have to deal with an F-boy. And I hear you. You shouldn't have to deal with an F-boy. But why is it that the F-boy is on your mind, that's the person you're going to encounter? Why can't you encounter somebody who can love you, Jam, who can protect you, who can appreciate you, who can love you for your mind, you know, and go the lengths for you and be sacrificial in the love for you? Why can't you meet that kind of person? You know what I mean? You're deserving of that. Why can't you meet that kind of person?
Oh, I know.
Why?
That's the thing.
Why is the mind on the F-way? Why is it on the F-way?
I know that I'm deserving of that. But Coach, do you know how many Black women that are lined up for just the man that you spoke of? You know, do you know how first of all, the numbers are not in my favor at all. Okay. The numbers are not in my favor. Okay. And I'm dealing with a finite period of time. And there's one thing that I recall at the end of my marriage is that, okay, my marriage is over and I didn't even get a chance to have or become a parent. Now, thank God I didn't, because I'm done with him free and clear. So I'm actually very thankful of that. But the numbers aren't in my favor. I'm also like, I also really wanted to take a step back and understand like where my discernment may have, like, I really wanted to sit back and analyze, where did I potentially go wrong, right?
That's real.
Because he has his part, I have my part in choosing, not acknowledging, moving forward anyway, thinking things work out, whatever, right? Like, all of that takes time. And that's time that I don't necessarily have from a reproductive standpoint. And, you know, Coach, like, y'all said on the panel yesterday or Sunday or whenever it was that, you know, you say there's these good men, you guys, good men, but y'all are single intentionally. Many of you are single intentionally for whatever reason. You know, it's just like the odds just may not be in my favor. And I need some sort of like insurance. I need some sort of thing in place to make sure that I also feel like I'm giving my power away. That like, this is me walking in my power and in my peace. And if I just sit back and twiddle my, now don't get me wrong, I know I could pray, I could fast, I can believe, I can do all the things for a man, for a good man. I know I can, and I know there's some that are doing that, and I'm standing with you. But as far as the desires of my heart, I just don't have it. I don't have it in me. But yeah, I know I deserve a good man. I know that. But you act like the supply is plentiful, and that's the problem. That's one of the things you're doing your work. You guys are working on it. You're doing your part. But I live in DC. You know how many women there is to one man? Like, it
Don't
is.
worry, I'm coming to DC in August. Don't worry about it. We're gonna find you somebody. Okay. No, okay. Listen, again, I appreciate your transparency and vulnerability. I get where you're coming from, right? I'm getting where you're coming from, and this is why I wanted to challenge it. And I wanted to challenge it because what you're describing, and I'm going to give you both, as we're both Christians here, what you're describing right now is Abraham and Sarah, and what you're about to birth is an Ishmael. You are taking. And this is for us Christians. The rest of them who don't believe, we'll have to leave them for just a second or two. What we're birthing right now is Ishmael. We are saying we believe what God can do and then going, God, but I'm going to remove you and the way you handle things, and I'm going to get involved in the process, and I'm going to take over. So I'm not questioning your faith per se. I'm just questioning the process that you're taking, because oftentimes when we talk about these issues, we talk about just from a spiritual standpoint. That's a spiritual standpoint. But from a psychological standpoint, psychology-wise, Jam, there's pain there. That's just the honest truth. Do you know why I know? Because as soon as you started talking, the very first thing you said is, you're going to be psychoanalyzing me. And I was like, wait, I'm not, I genuinely was trying to hear the story. I would have never thought about it.
Enough on here to know that you're
but no, because you're already thinking that I'm about to come and try to get at you. But it's because you already have the walls up. You've got your guns ready to defend yourself, not necessarily to blast me, but to defend yourself. Just in case Kojo tries with any things, I got the guns ready. Okay, I got the answers ready. Brother's gonna know I'm clued up. Okay, but the reason why you had that, okay, it's because we're defending something. And I'm just, listen, this is from one unhealed person to, I believe there's some parts of you that are a little bit broken, sis. Just a little bit. All right, just a little bit, right? And we deal with brokenness in different ways. So listen, I'm going to say this for the purpose of what I believe that God has brought us to. There are some women in the chat that will tell you, go ahead and do it. They don't have your best interest at heart. I'm going to tell you that straight. I'm so sorry. Me, I'm going to tell you straight. I'm not going to lie to you. And I may lose female followers. That's their business. They don't have your best interest at heart. Because if they're really thinking about you first and foremost, if they've heard any of the conversation you've spoken about, they will start to see there is issues there that are stemming as to why you're making the decision you're making. This is why I said about if I love you, I will start to say certain things and be like, hey, babe, let's look at this because right? There are a lot of people that will just say, go on. They're not going to be with you when you have the child. They're not going to be with you when you're alone in your bed at night thinking about things. They're not going to be with you in those moments. They're not going to be. It's going to be you and you alone. So what I'm telling you in this moment is reconsider. And I'm saying reconsider in the sense of this. Before we take down, you're already down this path already, but ask yourself the hard question. There's a chapter that I'm writing in my book, by the way, just a little plug. And it's called quality control. The quality control is ask people around you before taking a certain decision when it comes to like situationships, but we're not in one. We're just talking about, right? Quality control means asking people around you. And some of these people you don't go to, my camera's gone off, but it will come back on. You don't go to because we already know the answer. We know that they're going to say something that I want to go down the path I'm going down. So that's what I'm saying. I cannot stop you. Jam, if you decide tomorrow you're going to do this thing, I cannot stop you. But there's a reason why we had this conversation and the reason why you shared your vulnerability with me and the reason why you felt comfortable to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's a reason why we are in this position right now. So regardless of what you do today, at least we've had this conversation and you shared parts of you. But I'm saying to you, I can see some stuff as to why you're taking the decision that you're taking because, baby, Jam, you deserve to be protected. You deserve to be loved and you deserve to be taken care of. And you deserve to be in a situation. If you want to have kids, you deserve to be in that situation in a wholesome way with another man, if that's your pathway. You know what I mean? Like some people don't do that. So, but you know what I mean? Just that's what that's my final word on it. That's I'm not gonna say anything else because I think we've had good dialogue, and I know everyone's looking at me like, "Go on, let someone else enter." They're probably thinking to me, you know what I mean? They probably say, "Leave her alone, leave her alone." You know what I mean?
No, I mean I'm looking at the chat and someone was like, "Men must have really hurt Jam." I mean, I'm sure Sean can probably agree to an extent. You don't go through divorce without being changed in some way, and you have a real value of marriage. So, of course, like my perspective on things have changed. And yes, there is a healing process that goes along with that. And yes, that does impact my current decisions. But, you know, I've had to pick myself up and I've had to continue and move forward. And so I appreciate your input and Coach, and I'm glad we could have a respectful dialogue given we have different opinions. And I'm going to be quiet because I'm sure there's other people that want to say something.
We both going to be quiet at this point. We both
May I? Please.
Yes. Let me keep quiet.
I've been just breathing through because I just want to say this. There is no perfect decision when it comes to female reproduction for somebody who is considering whether they want to be a mother or not, raise children or not. There is no perfect decision. You could make the argument that bringing any children into the world in the state it's in is selfish. But who is the person who has the power to actually bring the person? The person who has the womb and has to do the reproductive labor to do that. Yes, do we know that more times than not, children who have men and women to look up to are going to do much better, have a better chance? Yes, of course. But this is why I really like what you do, Kojo, because you've built community. We have things that we associate with. We associate things when we hear two-parent household. We have our associations based on concepts, which the world provides, and then we have our personal experiences. And obviously, anything that's painful or hurt and still stays with us today is going to be a lens that we look through when it comes to what we believe is possible for ourselves. And that's reality. But when it comes to trying to make a child and have a child, I don't think that I don't envy the position, Jim, and you are in charge of your own reproduction life, period. What I also know about children they're very resilient, and you don't really know what you don't know unless you get to know it. The same way that I can say now the relationship that I'm in, I realized there was times when I was merely surviving or thriving on one level, but the way that I feel like I'm thriving now is a different level. I know that because now I'm experiencing it, but I didn't feel less. I didn't value the positive experiences I had less because it could have been better if. And so the reality is we don't know, Jam, your unborn children. And we don't know what actually is going to be like, but we do know you have male figures in your life. You have a community around you. You said you have friends who are in relationships with men. And I think we're just not, what I hear is kind of more valuing the idea of the heteronormative two-parent household and hoping that because the setup is set up this way, that therefore it's going to turn out better. But I think we all know that that's not, nothing is going to be guaranteed. And so I think that I hope, I'll say again, that the community you do have, that you spend, just as much time cultivating the support that you will need to raise the children that you're going to raise, or the child that you're going to raise. If things go the way that you envision them to go for yourself, and it works out the way that you want it to work out. Because children are abundantly receptive to love. Children are not necessarily going to judge the adults around them for not being in loving heteronormative relationships. They're just not unless they, learn a certain way, but you can teach kids however you want to teach them. But the value of men is not confined to romantic relationships. And I think the fact that we see so many people have big reactions to how they want to be or not be in relationships really just reflects so much of the relationships we have to the grown-ups around us who are men and women, including mother and father, and how that affected us as children. We have a plethora of different people with different compositions of their families, and it's so evident. My stepson, who lives in my house half the time, is distressed, not because his mother and father aren't together, or that he has a sister who lives in another state, or two sisters over here. He's distressed because they're not friends. They're not in a community. There's no safety circle within that. So when you talk about value of men, my value of what men contribute is just like the different roles, not roles, the many different positions men play in the life of my life and the life of our community, and you know, vice versa, whatever. And like, Brett, it's no guarantee your kid is gonna be happy that or unhappy. There just is no guarantee. You know, that's why it's hard to hold all that it takes to raise children. And mind you, I didn't birth none of the children that I take care of in my life. That I've taken care of a lot of children, including ones I am related to. But I just want to say, like, the value of men is beyond. It's a community thing. And raising children, females are, honestly, you are the leader of your reproductive life and the children that's gonna come. And the last thing I'll say, Jam, is I really respect the fact that you have thought so much about this to the point where you would be willing to have this conversation and hear what other people have to say and think about it. You know, just like we're not going to be there when you go through the labor and all of those things. Whether you adopted a kid, we wouldn't be there in the courthouse either. You know, we're you know, but whoever is going to be there is going to be there, and only you know who those people are. Only you know who your actual community and council are. And so, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I trust your mind. And I just wanted to put that out there. There is no perfect decision. So as long as you can have integrity with your own self and your own belief system, you know what I mean? And know that there's so much that you can't account for, and that it is a leap of faith. No matter who, where, and what, bringing new children into the world is a leap of faith. It's not going to be perfect. There is no perfect answer. Trust your mind. Get your counsel. Keep your counsel. The child deserves the community of more than you, and so do you if you're going to raise a child. That's all I wanted to say, basically.
So, yeah, go.
No, I was going to say, because I think Sean was going to say something. I'll let you go, Samuel. Sean, you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that kind of plagues me when we have these discussions, and it just kind of disheartens me too, absent the whole, you know, childbearing conversation, which I definitely have opinions on and went through, you know, fertility challenges during my marriage, so I can empathize with you for sure. But the one thing that really just kind of plagues me, this seems to be a thread in this conversation, that it's very hard for us to talk about men without a backhanded comment or without negativity being under, you know, like in there. And as a man who considers himself a good man, and I said this on Sunday's panel, good doesn't mean perfect, but I think we just speak so comfortably about men in a negative light. It makes it almost challenges your reality, right? You know, it challenges your reality, and you start, you know, for a second, I almost feel like I ascribe to the fact that there's no good men out there, and that's just not true, you know? And I'm not going to say that women haven't had bad experiences with men. That's not what I'm trying to dispel. But what I'm trying to say is our overarching opinion of men can't be all bad. It just and it just creates a reality, and then that's all, and it informs the way that we think, and it's like soaked in our DNA. So you can't tell me you're healed if you can't talk healthily about a man. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way, you know, I've had bad experiences with women, but that doesn't change my view about the whole gender of women. I had bad experiences. That doesn't make men or women all bad. And because you've had a bad experience with a group of men, you're judging a whole group. I mean, have you interacted with millions of men? No, it's been 5, it's been 10, or whatever the number is. that can't be a reflection of all. But then what happens is we get so comfortable in spaces where I'm talking to this one and I'm talking to that one. And then before you know it, we have a collective experience, which is not necessarily based on reality. And I think the damage that you do, and we don't think about it, but you do damage. Like me sitting here and hearing all of these things. And again, I'm not talking about your choice, Jam, to have children on your own. That's a very different conversation. I'm just talking about the thread that has been woven throughout this entire conversation that I've heard, where it's men are this and men are F-boys and men are that and men are that and men are that and men are that. It's like collectively that just wears away, because I get tired of talking from a point of feeling like I'm the exception, and I'm not. Because when I look at the men that I know that are in my life and know they're not perfect, and neither are the women, right? I can forgive my mom for her flaws. I can forgive my mom for the things that she might have done. But I don't, cast that on all women. You can't do that. In the same way, we can't do that to the men, because then we expect them to show up differently. And that's where I'm just going to land this. How do you expect someone to show up differently when you see them from such a damaged place? How am I ever going to be any different than what you expect me to be if that's all you think that exists out there? So that's just a very, very tough thing, and it is hard. And I'm being vulnerable in this moment because it is. I just want you to understand and hear from a man. It is so incredibly difficult and hurtful to hear the women that we love speak so negatively of us and cast us out to say that we all are just the worst thing in the world. It is very difficult to hear that. And then for me to try to rationalize that with the men that I'm in relationship with in my life. Very, very difficult. So I just would challenge us to say, we all can't be all that bad. We all can't be that bad. Some of it has to be accountability. We have to own our own decisions. Things don't happen by mistake. There's no accidents. So some of the things that we do are of our own design. Just like we as believers, sometimes those of us that will put it on the devil. It's not the devil. It's the devil in you that allowed you to make those choices. It's the devil in me that ignored the things that I knew that I wasn't supposed to do, and I did them anyway. But it's easier for me to point a finger outward and say it's about them and the mistakes that they may or may not have made than understand what my role in it is. And I think we land better, we relate better with each other when we understand and accept accountability first, and we don't look at each other with such a hard lens. And that's it.
First of all, I just want. Actually, Jam, did you want to say something?
Yeah,
I'll let you. I'll respond.
John, I don't know if you heard that through what I said. I recall stating that I have worked on my accountability. I am working on my accountability and where decisions could have been made differently. And I realized in my taking time, right, and not necessarily pursuing relationships, that is kind of a part of that process of, yes, I think that I am healed, but I look at dating through a lens of, yes, there are good men out there, but I need to move slow to protect my peace. I did not say that all men were bad. I said the number of women available outnumber men. I said that the odds may or may not be in my favor. There are definitely some men out there that do not do good things. And there are some men who are now good men that have done bad things and have left a path of destruction in their past. That has happened. And for women too, right? Women, we've done the same. But what I'm saying is that the process through which it would take for me to sift through the population to find or to be found by a good man, I don't know. I just don't know what that looks like for me. Because what I've learned is that I need time to be able to assess a man's character. I need a time to assess if we work together. Like, all that takes time. And I'm 38, Sean. Like, fertility starts to get real tough after 30. Well, just depending on the person, it's getting tougher and tougher. That was my point. And yes, I did have a concern about dating when I was even in the midst of what I would call a not so great marriage, shitty marriage, whatever. I didn't want to get back out there and date again, because I recall what dating was like. Maybe I haven't had such good experiences, but I've had some really great ones as well. But I didn't say all men are like that. But there are good men. But the fact of the matter is that time and numbers may not be on my side. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure that I agree with your opinion of me, but that's okay.
Oh, well, Jam, firstly, I just want you to understand, and I guess, like, in my passionate, speech, right? I mentioned a lot of things, but I tried to be clear that what I said wasn't specifically just aimed at you.
To my fertility. Yeah,
exactly. And it's not about that, and I think that language is so important. And one of the things in our channel here that we talk about often is the words that we use and how we talk. And one of the things I noticed, and not just with you, but with several of the ladies on the panel and also in the comments, when asked to describe experiences about men that were positive, it was a challenge. And that me showed that really, for no reason other than your own belief, not intentionality, but your own belief, was there's not a lot of good men out there, right? And I think that comes from a lot of the other things that I said before, is that it has become very comfortable for us to talk about each other in a very negative way. And I will say men are guilty of it as well. Right? We are very comfortable with it as well, because we in certain spaces we highlight elements of female nature, and we will talk about those things, and it informs the way that we move. So in this particular conversation, I think it definitely became a switch, and I just it was something I responded to, and again, I think your decision that you're making is a very personal one. Whether I agree or disagree is not important. But what I really wanted to highlight is the fact that we have to think of each other better. Because if we cannot do that, it's going to be very hard for us to be in good relationship with each other. And when we see each other through a lens, it is so hard to have good relationships, because if I come in with, it's like a stereotype, right? It's like me as a Black person, and if I'm interacting with a white person and they've got years of feeling that I'm inferior, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do to change that. No matter how good, no matter how fast I work, and no matter how much I do. And we get caught up in this, in those of us that are in corporate lives and things like that, we get caught up in trying to be exceptional. But guess what? They still see our color. And it's the same thing that we do to each other, because no matter what we do, if my informed decision is that all Black women are X, and your informed decision is that the majority of Black men are X, it's going to be hard for us to have a good relationship, because that's the thread that's running through our relationships. So we never really give each other goodwill. And anytime I make a mistake, the minute I make a mistake, there he goes. That's that same nigga. That's that same F-boy, but I'm just being human and being a flawed person like we always are. right? The minute you make a mistake, Jam, that's my ex. That's my ex that never wanted to listen, never listened to me. And that's the part of us that still needs to heal. And it's under the surface. So we can have the trappings of success. We can have the things that look good. We can have a good friend group and travel well together and have all those things. But if under the surface, I don't see the person that I'm supposed to be in alignment with, in relationship with, if I see them from a bad place, then how are we going to have a healthy relationship together? So that's what I'm pushing back on. The child part, that's a lot to parse through. I couldn't and I wouldn't. And I did that with my ex-wife. And I realized certain things are what they're going to be. And when women want to have kids, they will have them and find a way. And when women don't want to have kids, they won't. And they'll be okay. So it works on both sides. So that part I would never sit up here and debate with you. But what I would say is I want to challenge your perspectives on men. I want to challenge anybody on here that has a bad view of men, and then figure out why that is, where it root cause, where it came from, and then work on that. Because it's going to impact you, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly.
Ooh, child.
Go for it, Samuel, and then
right. You're gonna have to bear with me because there's a lot to unscrabble in my mind. Jam, first of all, I just want to thank you for actually being very open, but also not being defensive with your stance. That is actually quite refreshing to hear someone like you who has some might say a very controversial stand on something, but not have their fist out and they start with everything that Kojo is asking, and even maybe Shaw might be getting at. So that's what first thing I want to thank you on. Second thing is and this is generally for everyone, your experiences do not fixate you as a person. Your experiences do not fixate you as a person. The reason why I took a lot of interest to what Jam said is because 2 years ago I had the same stance. I did not want to get married. I just wanted to have a child, have full custody of the child, and bring them up by myself. Now, why did I have that stance? Now, Jam, just saying, this is not your stance. This is just my personal stance, but it was just similar in the fact that the outcome. Why did I have that stance? It was because that I was hurt from a lot of failed relationships, failed talking stage. I was drained. The energy was zapped out of me. I didn't want to date anymore. I didn't want to do, like, the view I had on women was so bleak. It was so bleak. Now, one thing that I have to ask myself this question. I personally ask myself this question. If I had a boy, if I had a son, and I'm a single father by choice, and I've raised him up myself, and he grows over, let's say 18 years old, he comes to me and says, Samuel, father, why didn't I have a mother? How would I answer that? He also, I explained why, and he said, why did you make that choice for me? I will have to answer that. So that was just one of the questions I had to ask myself. Second of all, my stance on women, was it fair? Was it fair to paint all women under the same brush? Now, I'm not saying that anybody here is doing it. Please, I'm not saying that on anybody's head, but it was my thought process to my decision making. Was it fair for me to paint every woman under the same brush? No, it wasn't. Just because this one and this one and this one hurt me doesn't mean that the next one's going to hurt me. Maybe what I just needed to do was just step out the game for a bit of time take a breather, work on myself. What have I done wrong? What was in me that was wrong? What was the decision that I was making that was wrong? And then maybe later down the line, then I can go back into the game. Now, one thing that we as humans, especially in this generation, what we always do is that we focus on the negative more than the positive. Now, I remember there was this the World Cup. It was the World Cup, and I remember I'm half Nigerian, half Jamaican, but I have this friend that's Ghanaian, and Ghana was playing South Korea in the World Cup, and Ghana was 2-0 up. Sorry, I'm just talking about this, but the point we'll get to. The point we'll get there. And I remember I was actually praising Ghana. I was saying to the person, Ghana doing well. I actually want Ghana to go through and stuff like that. So I said let's just say about 6 things that was positive. When South Korea ended up equalizing, I said one thing. What the hell are Ghana doing? She forgot all those 6 points that I said that was positive and focused on that one point. And I mentioned that to her. She could not say anything. And what's the point of that? Is that as humans, we focus on the negative more than the positive. Bringing back to my situation, what happened? There were some situations where the woman wasn't bad. It's just that she was a good woman, but we didn't work out. Simple. We parted our ways. That was it. Now, what I'm trying to bring forth here is that, and Jam, you spoke about the statistics. Now, I can't argue with that because the statistics are there. For Black women, it's actually very hard. Very hard. Doesn't mean that it's everyone. Now, I was watching a video that Kojo did, and it's so funny how this relates. Kojo did, I think it was earlier in the week. And he spoke about, there was this one video where this man was explaining marriage and the 50% divorce rate or something like that, 50% are actually good marriages. And one thing we like to do is that we like to focus on the 50% that is are divorced. When it comes to business and we talk about the 1%, that are very, very rich, most of us aspire to be in that 1%, but it's only 1%. Yet we still try to push for that 1%. Even though it's very hard for Black women, and it is very hard. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Why don't you have the same mentality to push for that man that will treat you right, that will love you as who you are, will protect you, and will have the responsibility and fulfill their responsibilities in a happy marriage and a happy family? Why don't you push for that?
How does
If
one?
because,
Or is that rhetorical? Or can I respond?
oh no, you can answer.
Yeah, like how does one push for that? Like how does one in a world where women were supposed to be open but not too open, we're supposed to be have discernment, we're supposed to have standards, boundaries, and we're supposed to like navigate this, like, and we're unable to control the free will of another person, right? Like, not trying to do that, don't need to do that. Think I'm a great catch, all the things. However, like, what is pushing for that 1% look like to you?
So for me, pushing for that 1% is personally looking at myself. And you actually personally did say that. Actually, you did actually say that. Looking at yourself, seeing where you personally might have went wrong, taking accountability of what you were doing, and then not straight away, because it doesn't have to be straight away, because the healing process for some people might take a week, for other people it might take many years. but it's the same healing process. But then going back out into the dating game, knowing that, okay, I might see a F-boy, but I might also see a good man that is willing to love me, protect me, do what he needs to do, and I can do the same back for him, really and truly, vice versa. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what it's not giving up. Because for me, I want to push for the 1%. I want to be rich. I want to have financial freedom. I've had so many setbacks, and I know this is talking about love and relationships and comparing it to business and money, but I had so many setbacks. Should I just give up and just say, it is what it is? I'm never going to do it. Or should I just keep on going? Should I just keep on going? Keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. Why can't it be me? Why can't I have the good relationship? Why can't I have the good man? Why can't I have the good woman? Do you get what I'm saying?
You comparing that to success and or like, financial gain. The difference is that I can control myself, right? Like I can work hard. Like that's kind of what, one of the things that, sometimes men that I won't say have issues with success, but this are successful women, but like that's what that boss feminism or whatever, that's what we do. We work hard, right? Like, and so like I can control my efforts actually. And that's kind of like what I did at the end of my marriage. I said, well, I'm going to focus on what I can control. Now, mind you, I don't have anything on my forehead that says, get away from me. I don't want to talk to you or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't, curse men out. I conduct myself in a respectable manner. I don't have and still, I'm not gonna get on dating apps. I'm just not gonna do it. Like it's just not something that I'm ready to do, whatever, or want it or want to do. You know what I mean? But other than that, I don't know how a woman you say push for that 1%. I really don't know, and I think that's where we're challenged, right? Because we say these good men are out here, but how do we as good women make sure that we're available or seek out these men without seeming wide open, pressed, whatever, trying to trying to, I don't want to say trap a man, but trying to do all of those things that are cliche of a woman trying to press to get married or press to get a partner. I'm not really sure how one does that.
What I would quickly just say, because I know other people want to talk, and I'm just gonna shut my mouth after this. But there's something that you said in the beginning: control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
If a man comes up to you and wants to take you out, wants to get to know you, stuff like that, control what you can control. Your boundaries. If you're seeing something in him, let's just say you allow him in, I'm just like, okay, cool, I want to see what you're about, and you set your boundaries. There might be a red flag there that you see. Okay, what I always say is that don't run at the first red flag. Give the person a chance, because everybody's not perfect. I always say that. But you might see a pattern that this red flag keeps on going. I was like, no, I can't deal with it. Cool, walk away.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody else comes in and then you give that person a chance and they're showing things about that, like I can deal with this, I can live with, I can see a future with him. That's what control what you can control. Women can control their boundaries. Women can control their decision making in it with allowing a man, because really and truly, and we're not talking about anything about non-consensual. Let's push that to the side. Everything's consensual. A man coming up to you, wanting to get to know you, wanted to really pursue you for something serious, you can control that. You can control that. But yeah, let me shut my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hello.
Can I speak to that?
Okay, who was going?
I think Bomb Cherry opened first and then Mocha. So Bomb Cherry, then Mocha.
Okay. How's everybody doing? I'm a little confused at what's going on right now, because when you say that a woman control a man, so we all adults. Like when we were children, we was on the playground, and we was even young adults. We were able to go out to clubs. But today, I think most of us are over a certain age where we work jobs and careers, right? So when you made it seem like there's these groups of men coming back to back at a woman where she could control whether she dates him or not, that's not reality, right? So that's what the women are saying. Like, first, most men, you call us masculine if we go to get what we want. Like, if we approach the man, then we're masculine. So that means we don't get to control anything. We absolutely have to kind of wait until this guy approaches. He has to have enough confidence to approach. And that's what a lot of the young women are saying. The men aren't doing that. Like, the men don't have the confidence to even approach the woman. So now we have our people not coming together. That's what the women and the men are saying, right? The men are saying they're the prize and let the woman chase them. And then the women are being told that we're masculine even if we do that. So, and that's what I'm hearing the people tell me, the young people, when we have these conversations. So I do think that there are women who do know that there may be some good men out there. And I know when you men, especially you good men, right, who are already taken, when you act like, there are lots of men out there who are good, but how would you know? Right? You're not into men. You don't know what these men are doing or saying. Like, y'all don't have any idea what men are putting women through. So to assume that you can't be one of the good men, like if you think you're a good man, then I believe you. I don't have no problem with that, especially if you have a woman. But like, I think it was Sean who was saying, hey, y'all making it seem like it's not a lot of good men out there. Well, if the women's saying they aren't, then they aren't. Like, we are the ones, right? We are the ones who get to judge if the right man, a good man, approaches us. You don't get to tell me, though, that man is good for me. He don't even get to tell me that he's good for me, right? I know as an adult what I like and don't like in men. You men get to choose who's good for you, and we have the right to choose who's good for us. Like, we're not children, and it's weird when we have these conversations, y'all want to give women advice as if we're children. And so that's all I'm saying. I'm probably the oldest one on the panel right now, and like, I think it's a lot of gaslighting going on with these conversations, right? Because when the women are telling you what they like or don't like or what's going on, y'all like to tell us, no, that's not true. That's not true. So that's all I'm saying. I think, we like to listen to you men and what you tell us. If you say the women are being too masculine, then a lot of women can agree with that. And then with some women, they adjust. If they find that they want a man, they will adjust to get the man. And also, I want to say this before I leave. This thing about telling women, that they have to be submissive, like, to all men, right? Do y'all understand when you tell a woman that she needs to do this for all men? Like, you don't have to like me, right? I just need one man to like me, and I just need to like one man. But now it looks like we have our young people, y'all want to do it in a group. Like, the men are saying, yeah, we don't like what you do over there. And some of the women are saying, we don't like what you do over there. Like, calm down, everybody, and just look for that one. You don't need a whole group of good men, right? I think, Jam, you're a beautiful young sister over there, girl. You You rocking that haircut, girl. You beautiful. And what I'm saying to you is you just need one. But if you need the time to take the time to heal or whatever, if you just want to chill out, that's your prerogative, you see? And you just gonna need one, right? That's all. You ain't got to look at all. And I want you men to know this is encouraging because we don't have to judge you on all the men. We just need, Jam just need one man who one day will be there in her grasp, and he approaches her, and hopefully she'll accept him. And I wish you all well, because this is crazy when I see you young, beautiful brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? I want y'all to get what y'all want and have successful families. That's what will make our community stronger. And Jam, I'm supporting you, sister. If you want to have that baby without the man, there are men in your life. You understand what I'm saying? Community who will help support you and whatever your endeavors are, whatever you decide as a woman. Okay, we got a lot of sisters having your back. Thank y'all.
Cheers, Bum. Let me just clear up some of the things that she said, because some of the points she made, we never made it. We never made it. You're on the wrong panel. I'll put it bluntly. You're on the wrong panel because we never made half the points you made. Let me address. I actually wrote it down because it was never any of our points. First of all, we never gaslit you. Let's leave that there. You know what I mean? Like, I talk to the boys behind the scenes, and I make sure we have a certain way that we operate. Gaslighting is not one of those things. It was not gaslighting, so that's a mute point, and I don't like that, because that instantly takes away from the message we're actually saying. Bomb Cherry, you actually made our point, and actually what it made me remember is exactly what Sean said to me last time. Sometimes women don't want to hear it from men. You said my point. The points you were making at towards the end was our points about you need one man. That's what we've been saying. You just need one. So you're making our point. And that sometimes you just made a point, which is sometimes it's not about the message, it's the messenger. But that also gives me hope, because as we've been talking, it's been influencing. You understand? And that's why this conversation is needed. Because sometimes even if I say it, or Sam says it, or Sean says it, it may not run, but someone else hears it, and from the right messenger, it goes in and it's said, because the one man is what Samuel was explaining. You only need one. That's what he was explaining. That's the 1% he was explaining. But Bomb Cherry put in a different way, and we appreciate you for putting it in that particular way. Next point that I want to address quickly, the prize. Listen, this is exactly when we meant, and listen, when we talk about good men, this is what we're talking about, right? When we talk about having men in lives, the prize conversation is when you don't have father figures looking after their children. That's where the prize conversation comes in, because men are naturally hunters. We hunt for. Now, when I say hunt, I'm putting in the most bluntest way of going about it, right? You're not prey, but I'm just saying that in the most bluntest way. If any man who has a a good, strong father figure in their life will tell you, your dad will inadvertently tell you, you go forth. There is no I'm the prize. And in fact, I don't even like calling you the prize, because the prize is about a trophy. And I don't want you to be a trophy wife. I don't want you to be a trophy woman. But we go forth and go for. You understand what I'm saying? So that's exactly what we're saying about having strong male leadership, because when you don't, it starts to invert. Because the reason why these men are saying that they're the prize is because they're acting feminine. When we talk about women receive, we go forth. When we make decisions, when we talk about masculine energy, the masculine energy is about making executive decisions, going to collect, talking about giving. So if I'm trying to receive from you, it's because I'm already in the feminine. Do you know what happens? It's because there's been a vacant space in that father figure role. That's going back to the whole family unit needing to be intact. That's going back to that very point. This is why we're saying that men are so important. Good men are so important, because we should also be challenging the bad men in our community, because they affect us. Them not doing their job means that I also suffer in that community, means that women also suffer in that community. So that was a point that she made about the prize. I absolutely believe her and agree with her, but they're coming from the fact that these men don't have good role models oftentimes, because I never call myself under prat. I don't submit to that. And I know my boys don't submit to that either. Next thing she said, we don't know what men are putting women through. Yes, we do. I can tell you this for sure. We do, because we put panels on and you come and tell us exactly how you feel. There is so many panels. There is Ricky Lake. I used to watch Ricky Lake and bang Ricky Lake. There was Jerry Springer. I used to bang Jerry Springer. There was, what's it called? What's the other one? There was another guy. was another guy who did another show.
Maury.
There was even the UK one. We have what I don't know what her name is. A black woman that was doing. There were so many shows where women were telling us about their pain of going through with men. So we do. Do you know what? Do you know what's not known? Half of you don't know that men have feelings, and half of you don't know that men actually get hearts broken. If we want to be real now, right? The reality is men don't often talk about how they get beat up, and not necessarily beat up physically, but in terms of in a relationship, how they get broken and hurt in a situation. We do know about how bad these men are. We do. We're not absent-minded at all because we've heard it so many times before. So we're not absent-minded of it. But if I ask you how many people know a man that's had their heart broken, you might have to name it one or two. That's about it. But if you really go and ask these men, you'll realize a lot of us have the same story as well about women. A lot of us have the same story about women. The reality is we don't have spaces where we actually start telling women this is what happens to us. You know what I mean? We don't sit here and tell women this. So that's also a real reality. But that's not taken away from what women go through. We don't want to do that. That's not. I tell the boys the same thing. We're not here to take away from the reality of what women go through. What we're saying is we see and we understand. I want you to. There's a whole manosphere and red pill of people crying, telling you about the experience of women. If you don't believe me, go to that graveyard. Go to that graveyard and find out how bad women can be to men. They're over that side, right? So there are women and men suffering on both sides. There are men on that and women. I know women are saying, listen, the supply chain is weak. The supply chain is weak on both sides. A lot of women think they're good. You're not. You're not good for us. You're not. You're not good for us, Shanice. You're not good for us. Yeah? A lot of you think you're good, and you're having the same syndrome that these men are on the other side. The men are complaining about the women, and the women are complaining about the men. The supply chain is weak on both sides. I'm telling you now. And I'm talking about good. I'm not talking about the fact that you don't snap at me or you don't shout. I'm not talking about abusive stuff. I'm talking about you're not actually a good partner in general for me. So we have the same issues. We have the same issues. Ladies, you tell me all the time, if I wanted a man, I can go out and just get one just like that. You're right. I could also go out and get a girl like that. But would it be the right type of girl? Would it be the right type of guy? We all have supply chain issues right now. You see eggs in the store are missing. That's how it feels like to be in the real dating world. I can't believe I'm going to the store right now and I saw eggs were missing. I couldn't believe it. There is a shortage of eggs and flowers. Guys, are we in a pandemic again? Anyway, that's beside the point. But, supply chain issues are happening on both sides. But we do need to talk so that we can, so that you can understand that we're also suffering on the other side. Let's keep it a buck, yeah? I'm 31, yeah? Now, of course, I've chosen to be single, but let me be real with you. If the right one came along, I would have quit this about 3 years ago. I'm still single because the right one has not come along. Let's not pretend. The right one hasn't come along either. So guess what? Me and you, Jam, we're in the same position. Okay? The right one hasn't come along. It's scary out there. Okay, it's scary out there. I told you about my last relationship. It's scary out there. Some of y'all are scary. You know what I'm saying? You put on a nice little face on and you think to yourself it's gonna be great. You get in a relationship and they're crazy. And the men are also crazy. You know what I mean? There is a lot of madness on both sides, right? We just need to talk so we both understand that. Now, I also agree this. We're not saying about the men that approach you. You cannot control necessarily the men that necessarily approach you, especially if you're a beautiful woman. There are all types of men approaching you. I'm one of them. Okay, there's so many men that are going to approach you, but the reality is what you can control is who gets access to your time, who gets access to you. That's what you can control. It's not the person coming to you. And even, so we're not saying about that. Anybody coming to you, that is the people that are coming to you. But what you can do is, who am I choosing to spend my time with? Who am I choosing my time to? And I keep saying this, a lot of us, our filters are broken. And that includes me. This is why I had the failed relationships that I had. I had a broken filter. So when I'm looking at women, when I'm trying to choose them, I was even scared to choose a woman because I'm like, I've chosen wrongly the last 2 or 3 times. Like, if I go again and I get it wrong, then, da-da-da-da-da. So we have broken filters. So sometimes when we're looking for a partner, we have that broken lens, and it can be very hard to judge, is this the right partner for me? And that's where it gets scary, because then you start asking yourself, how? Where humans start to lose hope is when they ask the question, how? And that's why I brought Abraham in earlier on. Abraham started asking how, and that was the problem. Stop asking how. It's going to happen. And I'm not saying necessarily everyone's going to get married and everyone's going to have children, because some of us are not. Okay? I may end up being Paul to you guys. All right? I want to get married, I want to have kids, but I might end up being Paul. God, don't do it. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying the how question is often what gets us into trouble, because we're trying to figure out, how do I make this happen, rather than saying, sometimes allowing God to just maneuver. I'm talking about us as Christians, allowing God to maneuver and allow it to happen. Sometimes we do need to take time, and we need to change our filters to allow us to see correctly as well. And the last point, just because of what she said, we've never asked anybody on this panel has never asked any woman to submit to all men. And I'll be honest with you, even manosphere a little bit, sometimes they try to stay clear of the all men situation too. So you know what I mean? I want to be fair to them. But we never ask any woman to submit to all men. You know what I'm saying? Like, submit to your husbands, okay? Submit to your husbands. That's who you need to be submitting to. That's the only person you need to be submitting to. If anybody's telling you to submit to all men, they are a problem, okay? And that should be a warning flag to say, you can't be dated because you're telling me you want me to submit to all men. Then you are a red flag, yeah? And you need to pack your bags, get on a train, and go somewhere else, because it's not happening right here. And the last point to address, again, I want to say this again as well. Sometimes the messenger is what's needed rather than the message. The message is correct, but the messenger has to change. Listen, we have so many prophets, all the way from Abraham, Moses, Elijah, Elisha, what's his name? Hosea, Micah, Daniel, Jeremiah. There's so many of those prophets. And you know what? There was one that was the right prophet that would bring the right message. He was prophet, king, and priest. That person is Jesus. Sometimes the messenger won't get the message through, even though it's the same message, because there's one messenger who is correct in delivering that message. Sometimes we're saying all we're saying, and today it may not go through. Today it may not happen, right? But like Bomb Cherry just brought to the table, she ended up saying our point, and the message got through. That it's not us. It's not us anymore. We'll take our foot off the gas. Yes, Samuel, and then I'm gonna let.
Sorry, I was just wanting to quickly say something. First of all, Jam, if it seemed like I was gaslighting, I actually do apologize. Like, I so wholeheartedly do apologize. That was not my intention at all. With a lot of what Bomb Cherry said, I do agree with. I actually do agree with. I'll just put it frankly. Thank you, Kojo, for saying that. Thank you, Kojo, for saying that. But first of all, I thought I explained that to the best of my ability, but clearly I didn't. Women cannot control the men that come to them. they can't control that. They can control, as Kojo said, their access to them, as in time towards them. So that's why I was talking about giving a man a chance. If he wants to pursue you and he wants to have a relationship with you and be serious with you, you can control actually allowing him to do that. Not actually him coming to you, but for you to actually give him time to do that. That's just to make that clear. Again, I think with a lot of what Bomb Cherry said, and I have encountered this a lot. There's a lot of women that they, in other spaces, they get into other arguments with other people. And then they come to another space. And even if somebody doesn't even say anything that that person says, they will bring that argument into the space. When, as Kojo says, like, we never said any of that. We didn't even say any of that. And it's understandable, because there's other men that certain women have argued, and it's just like, it's a constant battle. So then you come into one space and you think, oh, these are just going to say the same thing. They're just going to say the same thing. No. Literally, I agree with what a lot of Bomb Cherry said, but again, it wasn't what I was saying. It wasn't what I was saying. But yeah, sorry, I'm going to shut my mouth for now.
Wait, one of the ladies wants Rebecca, you haven't said anything. Oh, Mocha, sorry. Mocha first, then Rebecca. Sorry, apologies.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay, Kojo. GM, I am totally behind your decision. I give you a lot of credit for doing what you want to do with your life and your reproductive health. I appreciate that you are an educated woman, that you are making this decision on your own. There are a lot of people out here that stay in marriages that are not happy. There are a lot of people, men and women, who have children that are irresponsible, that are not able to support or take care of their children, that count on the government or their families to help them and do not take care of their own reproductive health. That's men and women. So I appreciate what you're doing, and you're thinking strategically about what you want to do with your life, because you don't want to look up 10 years from now and wish that you had made that decision if you do not find the right partner. So I totally support you and wish you well on your journey. You know, we all come here from different walks of life. We live in different cities. I live in Connecticut, where meeting someone may be different from where you live in DC. And I have family that live in that area, and a lot of female family members. And I know how hard it is for someone to meet someone living down there, and someone who lives in Atlanta or lives in Miami or lives out in LA. It's a lot different than other parts of the country and other parts of the world. So you have to do what works for you and your family, in your family unit. So I applaud you on that. You know, a lot of women really need to think about that, and also make it so that they're able to take care of themselves and their children. You know, when I was married and got divorced the first time, you know, I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mom. I decided to divorce my husband because of some things that he did. And I had it hard. However, I was able to get myself together and take care of my children, and I made sure I didn't have any more children. There are a lot of people, men and women, who become single parents, sometimes by choice and sometimes not by choice. But the thing is to be responsible for the choices that you make. There are a lot of people who are immature, who are, and I mean immature in age and just in mindset, that bring children into a life where the parents are just not ready. And I'm glad to see that you are making that choice. I am confident, and just from hearing you speak, that the woman that you are in the family unit that you talk about, that you have your extended family, that your child will be a productive member of the society, that will be loved and treasured. And I'll be praying for you and hoping for the best for you. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Oh, Rebecca, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I love that. Jamila, you're absolutely beautiful. All the girls that are always on a panel are absolutely beautiful. Can you guys hear me? Okay, perfect. I love Sean. I love your conviction. Kojo, I love the fact that, when we get on here, you guys are like really serious. I'm super big on accountability. So I just love the passion. I love the conviction. And I love the fact that like we can actually get on here as a community. Thank you, Kojo, for building this, because honestly, you can't find this anywhere else. It's usually like manosphere, red pill, blue pill. It's a complete mess. So it's a nice place to like come and actually, really talk and hash out how we feel. I'm in therapy severely. Kojo, shout out to the Ghanaians, you already know. But I'm in therapy right now, and I know my therapist always says to me, she's always like, she'll say something to me, and then she'll be like, well, repeat what I said. And then I'll say something like completely different. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and she's like, you're not hearing me, because sometimes I do respond from like I have a trauma response, because like Kojo said, I love that you said that, we can be on a path and a journey of healing, but there's so many different moving parts. Like you could be at the part where like, hey, I'm coming out of a divorce. I'm trying to get my life together. I'm trying to get back, physically, spiritually, mentally, but it's time, and it takes years, and there's no destination. I think that we're always working on ourselves. I want to speak to what Sean said. I think I can wholeheartedly agree, like, because I think that a lot of times, we do focus on our experiences and the negative ones that we have had, but one thing that I know is that we're all like emotional beings. So when a man jumps on the internet or jumps into a conversation like this, and he's hearing not necessarily that we're like bashing them, but we might not have the nicest things to say, it affects them. It affects their mental health. It affects the way that they look at themselves. Even if they put that wall up, it absolutely affects them, because I know I go through that. So I try to stay off socials for the most part, because you'll be going on the internet and there's so many conversations about Black women and what we need to do and how we need to be and how we need to dress, and that affects me. So I stay away from those type of things. So I totally understand where you're coming, Sean, and I absolutely agree. I don't think that's what Jam was saying or anybody else on, or Amy was. I don't think that's what any of the women were saying, but I understand what you're saying because that's a real thing. I love what the sister said before. I don't know where she is, but her conviction was obviously her convictions. And I know Kojo had to like step in and kind of like make a few things clear, because I was kind of sitting back like, I don't really know if that's the conversation we were having, but everybody speaks from their experience. Honestly, Jam, shout out to you if that's something that you want to do. Absolutely. My stance is with Kojo for sure, but that's more because of like my spiritual background. But you are beautiful, and I honestly feel like whatever you want to do, like that's between you and Jesus. I think there's a community here that is willing to have this conversation. I love your vulnerability. I love the fact that you're like, what, this is personal to me, but I want to share this with you guys, and also like give the space for Kojo to really ask questions. Like he wasn't even pushing back; he was more asking questions, and I could see how amazing that conversation was, because it's a conversation that I had with my pastor too. I'm turning 36 and I'm like, listen, my clock is ticking, Lord. Okay, what is it gonna happen? But I'm kind of just like, my stance is with Kojo, like I'm just gonna let it happen. I don't think necessarily if you have a baby that you'll necessarily birth an Ishmael, but I understand what you were saying, Kojo, because it's a real thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's really real. For the people that don't believe in God, disregard what I'm saying, I guess, but it really is a spiritual thing. And I want to speak to also, I know somebody in the comments was saying that men don't know what women are going through. These guys know. They know. They're, some of them are the ones that are doing it, but I know that it's a mindset thing. So I'm in this place where I'm renewing my mind. It's a complete mindset thing. Like I know a lot of times people are like, oh, let's manifest this, let's manifest that, let's do this, let's do this. Yeah. That whole manifesting thing is not for me. But I really do feel like I'm not really big on like buzzwords like affirmations and all that stuff, but the way you think is the way like your life is going to be. Like I used to be one of those girls like, oh my gosh, where are all the good men? When are they gonna come? I'm tired of this. Like my biological clock is ticking. But I really just like set myself to take care of myself, and I really just pray that that right person will come to me, and when the right person comes to me, that I'm open to it, right? Like my spirit is open to it, my mind is open to it, my life is open to it. And I think that we can do that for everything in our lives, including if you want to have a baby without a man, like, you know what I mean? That's your prerogative. So I want to really thank Kojo, and I love the men's panel. I love the women's panel to just giving us like a platform where we can actually have real conversation without tearing ourselves down. So shout out to everybody. That's my little think piece.
Appreciate it, Rebecca. Any other contributions there? Jam, you haven't spoken in a while actually, so did you want to say anything on your mind? We really appreciate your transparency and vulnerability here. Honestly, it's appreciated. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I thank you for the panel, like patiently listening as I kind of like get into my experiences and answer Kojo's questions. And Kojo, I appreciate your patience as we we're talking about opposing views or ways in which we see things differently. I'm a woman of faith, and I am also a woman that believes that God blesses action. And I believe that this is a step forward in me, or as I'm going along this journey. I'm honoring the desires of my heart. Now, if God has other, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I have and am open to what God has for me, but I believe this is these are the steps that I can take, right? And then God will do the rest. Whereas if he has other plans or whatever, you know, God knows my heart. I'm not one that is, you know, going to go against what I see clearly he wants, you know, me to do. And I'll say this as well, you know, I think at the time in which I decided to do this, like Kevin Samuels was like gaining popularity. So like there was all this like slander against like single mother this, single mother that. And for someone like that I haven't done everything right, God knows. But, you know, went to school, tried to do those things, got married, I'm divorced now. And now I'm like choosing to be a single mother. I see it so many times. Like, I don't know anyone who would choose to be a single mother. I've seen that people say that so many times. And really to choose this path, you have to be able to, you know, I won't even say listen to, but know that there are people who might not support what your decision is. But if I believe that is what is right for me, and, you know, a child doesn't come here, but if not through God. So he is the other component in this path for me. So I understand many people would not do this or not agree. But, you know, this is what I feel I'm being led to do. So I appreciate, you know, again, this forum, and I feel like I've kind of monopolized all the time. I'm not trying to make this about me, but I think this is, you know, there are, you know, quite a few women that either may consider this path or are on the verge or have already chosen. And I think the conversations that we had will be beneficial to those who have considered. That's all I have.
No, I appreciate that. Well, we've actually gone over our time. It's meant to be 3 hours. So let me just quickly just say, you know, again, thank you, Jam. Thank you, Amani. Thank you, Michelle, Rebecca, Mocha, and so what's the name? The whole lady that was here. Bumble Juice. Something. I can't remember the name. Something Juice. I apologize. The name's gone out my head. But and I appreciate you, Corey, as well, Sean, Sam. So you know, first of all, yes, sorry. So thing that came to my head when I said about the Ishmael, sorry, I didn't mean it to sound like your child wouldn't be blessed or anything like that. I didn't mean that because I realized the implications of saying that. So let me clear it up so we know exactly what I was saying. What I was saying in terms of taking a decision when God might have said something, not saying he said anything to you, but I was kind of using that illustration. So not necessarily the child will be not blessed or anything like that, right?
You're saying going outside of God's will, going outside
yes,
of
yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, I didn't want anyone to take it out. So just in case I may have missaid it, I wanted to make sure I did that clearly as well for you as well. Two, you know, I want to say this. Sometimes we hear this term, and I heard it today. God don't bless no mess. And I want to tell you this now. God does. And I'm going to tell you straight. And this is the problem, because God is a God of grace and mercy. And I can tell you that for free myself, okay, because I've lived a life, okay? All right, so I know that God can bless things that you thought were going to be a mess. That is not an indication of what road we should or shouldn't take, because God can turn around any situation to make it work for his favor. So God don't bless no mess doesn't actually apply to the God that we serve, because sometimes there'll be some stuff that be happening and they'll be like, yeah, I'm still gonna make it work for me. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's not about Jam, it's not about Sean, it's not about Sam, it's not about the ladies. When it comes to God, it's about what will give him glory. And so if he believes it fit to be in his will, hey, even if you go down that path, he can say, listen, that's what I wanted to I'm allowed it to happen because it still fits within the plan of what I have for you. So that's the second point I want to add. Number three, and I want to say this specifically for the men who are going to watch this video in future, who are watching it now, who are on the panel, who are in the chat as well, okay? This conversation has single-handedly lifted me up and dragged me down. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm a man that sees in the distance. When I think about things, I don't think about the picture that's right in front of me. I believe that God has given me a gift in a particular way that I see things in a larger frame of perspective, right? And so I want to say this. I'm usually quite reserved, but I wanted to say this, right? Sometimes we'll see something in this small picture, and for now, it benefits us. But I'm saying for us as men, first and foremost, from what I've heard today, it is quintessential that we have men that look after their children, that are good husbands and love their wives, learn to be emotionally intelligent so we can communicate, all right, and take care of their families. It's also important, I'm going to put the onus on myself as a man and the men as well. Number two, that when you're out, if you're moving very, very mad, I've got to hold you accountable as men, right? First and foremost, because I believe that men are leaders of their community. Anything that's happening in the community, if we don't take a stand for it, we leave holes and gaps. And like the Bible says, he was looking for someone to stand in the gap. When he found none, that's what happens. When no one stands in that gap, this can happen. So for me personally, I'm looking at the men saying, we have a duty, number one, to encourage other men to love, to protect, to provide, and to be a priest over their homes, and to be in good standing. Because if we don't, our community as a whole begins to suffer. And I think we're starting to see the effects of generations now beginning to be heaped on this generation. And I'm saying that for us as a generation, we are generational breakers. So as men, I'm saying love your wives, be priests of your home, and protect and provide, right? That's the basics that God is asking you. And that means emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And some of y'all need to work on the sexual stuff. Okay. All right. So that's all inclusive of it, right? And I'm asking the men to stand up to that task. In doing so, this brings part of the healing that happens for our community. Right? So that's one part of the healing of the community. I also want to say that I think as well, having this conversation, it made me so much more aware in terms of us needing to have more conversation, number one, but two, also showing love to one another. I think, I'm really appreciating you ladies on the panel. I'm appreciating my guys. And just from a male perspective, I'm really appreciating the guys, especially you guys as well, because I realize there's a lot of work that is on our neck, and Sam's doing his part, Sean's doing his part, I'm doing my part, Corey doing his part. But there's a lot of work that we have to do in order to build respectively individually, but as a community as well. And that our work is not in vain. And I think this conversation has showed me that the work is not in vain, and having respectful dialogue does produce results. It doesn't always produce results that we want, but it produces results in terms of people able to understand where each other's coming from. I've got a better understanding now from yourself, Jam, when you explained it. You know what I'm saying? You might hopefully have a better understanding where we're coming from too, and we've got some level of understanding so we can move forward as well. So, and this is just, good Lord. Anyway, let me save that for another day. Okay, listen, Sean, give us the benediction, because time has gone. So give us a benediction, and let's roll this tape.
Wow, what a turn of events we had tonight. But I will say we had a good discussion. I will, just want to reiterate, Jam, you became a big topic of conversation, but understand that although it might have been centered about you or around you, this is a conversation for our community. So we thank you for being an example. We thank you for being the vehicle through which a great conversation and hopefully continued conversations will happen. When it comes to men needing women and women needing men, we need each other. And without each other, we will not be able to thrive. There are so many great things and great value that women have, too numerous to count. And it's what we see in each other. It's what we think of each other will inform how we treat each other. So I will end my benediction with some of the lyrics from one of my favorite songs by Hezekiah Walker. and it's called I Need You to Survive. I need you. You need me. We all are a part of God's body. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. We need each other, and I need you. I need you, Jam. I need you, Mocha. I need you, Michelle. I need you, Imani. And I need you, Rebecca. And for all of the women, all of them, I need you. We need you. Back to you, Coach.
Ooh. Sure. Oh, Jam, did you want to? Oh, okay.
No, I was just gonna say bye. And thank you.
No, it's all right, sis. It's all right. I appreciate you, man. Listen, audience members, it is the end of the conversation. This has been one of the most enthralling conversations we've had. I mean, it's a powerful conversation, and it's made me think beyond just the scope of this, but and beyond. But so listen, guys. I'm moved. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anybody here, you can leave now, but I just need to. I feel like I need to pray. And do you know what? It's been a long time since I've been in that space, but I feel the usher of the Spirit is telling me to pray, and I don't want to deny him. Listen, you don't have to stay if you don't want to stay. You are free to go. The conversation has ended, but I do want to pray. And if you feel led to pray too, by all means, pray alongside us as well. But I just want to end in prayer before we actually fully leave and go our separate ways as well. So let me just say, Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus, Lord God, for bringing us all here to have this momentous conversation, Lord. Sometimes we do things and we don't know why necessarily we do it, but you have a purpose and a plan for your children. And Father, I pray that, Lord, as you've laid out the blueprint, that, Lord, that we come into alignment with your will. And I pray that, Lord, that our community is in need of healing on both sides, Lord. And I just pray that, Lord, that you speak to both the men and the women and bring them into the fullness of your joy, your love, your mercy, and bring them into alignment with, Lord, what you have spoken over their lives. Father, we can sometimes feel like we're Gideon in the midst of a battle, thinking we're one person. How can we change the world? But Lord, there was something that was said to Gideon at that point in time, which is, Gideon, you are a man of valor, right? And you said that, Lord, you had a plan for the nation through that one man. I pray that, Lord, everybody here on this live right now, maybe one person, one woman, one man, but Lord, that their life is so significant and the change they can bring simply by, Lord, following what you have laid down for their life. Father, I pray, Lord, that the principle of love that you are, Lord, will begin to emanate into people's hearts. Father, I pray for forgiveness, that we're able to forgive, Lord, in the name of Jesus, oh God. And I pray that, Lord, those who are numb, I include myself, Lord, who are numb at certain points when it comes to our emotions, Father, I pray that, Lord, you begin to touch those areas and begin to thaw them out. Father, I pray that, Lord, you begin to speak softly to the places that are hard for some people, Lord, emotionally. Father, I pray, the Lord of God, that you begin to bring light and color into the places that have become dull in the minds and the hearts of your children, Lord. And so, Father, I pray that, Lord, even as we have these conversations, I pray that, Lord, it's not about necessarily the people, but it is always going to be about one thing, Lord, bringing glory to your kingdom. I don't think we're here by chance. And I just pray that, Lord, every ear that is here is able to hear. And so the Bible says faith cometh by hearing the word of God. And I just pray that, Lord, even though we've only spoken about relationships, Lord, it is a spirit that's working behind each man or woman, Lord, that begins to bring change. And that prayer we're praying right now, Lord, is that same spirit that, Lord, that invigorates and rejuvenates us, oh God, the Holy Spirit. Father, I just pray that, Lord, will begin to reinvigorate and add life and bring flesh to the bones of people, Lord, in their lives as well. And Father, I just pray that, Lord, that for fathers in this generation, oh God, that, Lord, that you will toughen them up and strengthen them, oh God, to be loyal, to be loving, to appreciate their wives and appreciate their girlfriends and their daughters and sons. I just pray that, Lord, that you will build men of courage, of valor, of integrity, of character. And I just pray that, Lord, that you will put these men in our community that will be visible so that, Lord, they can be representatives, oh God, for what is good. And Father, I pray that, Lord, the men that are trying to be good, Father, encourage them further, give them strength, let their hands continue to work the plow. And I pray that, Lord, oh God, that their feet don't grow weary and tired. And I just pray that, Lord, that these men will have wisdom, that when they speak, they don't just speak out of the bowels of their hearts, but they will speak out of the wisdom that you've given them, oh God, so they can speak love and speak truth to not only themselves, but to the community around them. And so, Father, I just pray that, Lord, that you will begin a rejuvenating work in this season. Father, the heavy burdens that people are feeling, I pray that you just lift them in this moment, Lord. Father, I pray that, Lord, the financial troubles that people are going through, Father, I pray that, Lord, that you begin to provide as you always have done. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus that for those who need protection, Father, I pray that, Lord, that you'll build a hedge around your children in the name of Jesus, oh God. Father, I'm praying in this moment that, Lord, that again, that we heed what you are saying to us in these moments. Ears that are blocked, I pray that, Lord, will be unblocked. Father, I pray that, Lord, that as the word may not have made sense at one point to some people, I pray that, Lord, it will make sense. And so, Father, I pray that, Lord, those who are walking will begin to run with your glory and your word. And I just pray that, Lord, that people will be encouraged once more again, Lord, to seek your face, oh God. And for anybody who's out there weary, tired, and wants to give up, I just pray that, Lord, that you will show them a magnificent light in this season, oh God. For those who are blind, I pray that, Lord, you will open their eyes, and those who are lame will begin to walk. And so, Father, I just pray that in this season, oh God, that healing begins, oh God, including myself, Lord. I pray that, Lord, that you will begin a work and a restoration in me as well, Lord. We want to be better. We want to be more mature. We want to be more wiser. We want to be understanding. And the Bible says that you pray that our eyes of understanding are opened. And so, Father, I pray for your grace to touch every one of your children, oh God, because it's not by works, oh God, but it's by our faith in Jesus Christ. And so, Father, I pray that, Lord, that you will begin to speak to your children and let them have ears to hear your call. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, listen.
Amen. Yes, Kojo.
Amen.
Thank you.
This is Bible study.
I appreciate that.
Amen.
Please, I think the prayer was for me. I needed it. But honestly, I thank you guys and ladies so much. Honestly, every single one of you guys have been vulnerable and you've shared your stories, and I really mean that. Like it's helpful. So hopefully we get to have this conversation again next week. We have another conversation coming up. Yeah, we will have more. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Night, guys. Night,
Good night.
guys. Thank you. Oh, let me shout out the super chat. Sorry, yeah. You
Jam, wait.
Okay.
Don't leave.
Yes, we're behind the scenes, Jam. You don't leave, baby. Okay, we're gonna go. Okay, listen, guys, we're gonna go. D, thank you so much for your contribution. God bless you. Okay, you're paying for Ghana. And listen, Trey, thank you. Bless you too. See, I told you somebody saw my prayer of the fact that I need to go to Ghana this year, and they saw it and they released the funds. They see the Lord will provide, y'all. Okay, thank you so much. Jeffrey Owosu also had a point as well. Sorry, but I couldn't read at the time. But I thank you very much for your love as well. Thank you. But listen, audience members, you know I'm not gonna leave you spare. I gotta leave you with a little bit of something before we gotta go. Because you know, if I come here, I ain't leaving without getting something.
I'm leaving here with something.